Great, thanks a lot for that. So another question here is enabling programmability on Cardano with smart contracts. It's a major milestone in involving the wider community, such as the projects that you are running, in building solutions with Cardano and with input-output. But we are still in the early stages of enabling this financial and social inclusion. So how do you see the ecosystem of interoperable and composable services evolving on Cardano in the near and also in the long term? And which more complex use cases do you foresee will be enabled down the line by combining these initials building blocks that we are all working on currently with open finance and decentralized finance? And how are we going to be able to take them a step further and by adding additional value to the overall ecosystem?
So as P pointed out, that with the design and interoperability, Cardano can really serve as the core layer that can give access to liquidity across different networks. So I believe we will see this interoperability across different networks, cross-chain transactions that will really allow Cardano to be that core, that interface, really, so to speak, that gives you access to the wider ecosystem for the general audience. And then as we see more solutions and liquidity mining and such farming opportunities across different dexes, we'll have yield aggregation platforms that will allow users to put their assets to use across these different farming and mining and yield farming opportunities. One of the things that I personally am excited about, that we're dedicated to working and building, are multi-asset pools, which if you are familiar with Balancer, the V2 protocol, you see multi-asset pools, dynamic fees, dynamic pricing curves. All of these features and functions enable a wide array of complex solutions, and that's one of the things that we're excited about. And finally, being incubated by Singularity Net, which is like a decentralized AI company, and working closely and deploying on Cardano, we think that we will see a huge uptick, and we'll see the presence of AI agents and these automated trading agents on top of Cardano. And that, I think, will be really an exciting time. Like Singularity DAO is one of the projects that's building AI managed indexes. So we'll see these index pools on Cardano, and at the back you have the ability to tap into liquidity across different networks. So I think that in the mid and long term, with Cardano, we really have that sort of missing piece that brings the entire ecosystem together, and it's really exciting to be involved with that at this stage.
I agree. Axel?
We're very excited about where Cardano is going. Liquidity has always been the problem, first and foremost, that we're trying to solve. And the interoperability and the transparency aspects of Cardano are just fueling that. We've spoken with so many people, as I said before, who are interested in coming along once we, if they don't already know about Cardano, once we give them the information about this and the direction that it's going. One of the things that we're quite excited about also in relation to Cardano is quite forward thinking. We've spent a lot of time working with regulators, because we're quite heavily, anytime you're involved in investment, we have a world, we're very committed to DeFi, but at the same time, because we have physical assets, there are actual regulations and legal frameworks and legal hurdles that we have to jump through. As we've started, one of the problems with this was certain countries are not necessarily forward thinking with that. So we've actually incorporated in Luxembourg, and they're quite forward thinking, quite open to Cardano, and we're actually trying to bring together some relationships there so that the trajectory and the development that Cardano is going on will be supported by legal and financial frameworks in the case of real assets. So I think that there's some exciting developments there that are going to happen in the future, that the merging of those two worlds, traditional finance and DeFi. So those are some of the areas that we're most excited about.
Yeah, exciting times ahead, I guess. So Brandon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, with the bridges being built out, KVM, we're moving in a direction of Cardano being really well positioned to effectively be a centralized hub of what people want to do in decentralized finance, right? Some really exciting innovations that can be made on already existing DeFi concepts, right? Yield protocols, synthetic derivatives protocols, the ability to interact with assets from multiple chains on via one application. There's so many things that we have to look forward to here, and I really do think that Cardano's best positioned to, like I say, be that sort of centralized hub.
Thank you, Jonas.
Well, personally, I think that as the Cardano ecosystem kind of keeps growing, especially in regards to smart contracts, we will start to see more and more, bank-like services. We're already seeing blockchain loans, DeFi loans. We're seeing collateralization of assets. That's a tricky word, and I think that's just going to continue, that kind of trend. And personally, I hope that means that these kinds of services become available to more and more people, because one of the advantages of the blockchain is that it's global. There are no restrictions on any specific country or anything like that. So that's a trend that I personally hope continues. And also, a little bit selfishly, of course, I hope that we at Charlie are able to provide oracles to all of these projects as well.
Like I mentioned in one of my previous answers, Sunday Swap is really focusing on that composability aspect, right? That ability for the DEX to be a participant in transactions that other protocols might, need capital for. You see this on Ethereum with the notion of flash loans, and while the classic notion of a flash loan in kind of the exact same way that it exists on Ethereum doesn't exist on Cardano, very similar concepts exist of the ability of zero risk capital and zero capital arbitrage can be built into your protocols to allow kind of these protocols to be plugged together for different uses. And what that will lead to is, fundamentally useful work gets done when capital is put to use. And there's lots of capital out there that gets locked up or underutilized. And some of the design decisions in Cardano, the fact that your funds aren't locked while you're staking, and the fact that transactions work the way they do, allow this money to be doing useful work kind of more of the time. And I think that will lead to a really rich and powerful and productive ecosystem.
Great, well, thanks all for joining. Maybe we could do another round if you have any closing thoughts that you'd like to share briefly.
So I just like to echo that we're really excited to be involved and deploying and building on Cardano at this stage. And for us at Autoneo, we've been very low key about the things that we've been working on and deploying, and we're really excited to present the things that we've been working on. So I invite you guys to take a look at the presentation that we will showcase, and I'm just super excited to engage with the Cardano community, let them know what we're all about, working with the likes of CardStarter, Sunday Swap. I mean, all of you guys are doing an amazing job, so just super psyched, and yeah.
Thank you. Axel?
Well, I just, I've said it before, but it can't be said enough. Thank you to everybody in the Cardano community and Input-Output for the excellent work, constant support above and beyond. So that's been so helpful to us. And also, just this group here, very interested, Ecofolio, we are going to need oracles. We're going to need, a DeFi platform. So, all of these services, it's inspiring and great to see. And every time I talk with somebody from the Cardano community, it seems like that is a relationship that's going to be useful. And not only for us as a company, but also our mission to open up to bring this investability and liquidity out into the world, and the tools that people need in order to do good things. So yeah, great. It's a great community to be a part of. Very different, I think, in some important ways from other crypto communities that I've been involved with.
Thank you, Brendan.
And it's there's been this buildup of anticipation for us, operating the way we have as a stopgap on ERC20, leading up until this point where we are about to make our migration to Cardano. And all I can really say is I couldn't be more excited because of all of the auxiliary support, all of the projects that we get to interact with working in the ecosystem. It's been really standout, and differentiated from some of the interactions that we've had outside of the Cardano ecosystem. So thrilled to be moving full steam ahead, now that smart contracts are live, and really looking forward to once there's that functional DEX on ADA, once Sunday is going, to be able to migrate all of our liquidity over there and never look back.
Great to hear that. Jonas?
Well, I would like to take the opportunity to, on behalf of Charlie, thank Cardano Foundation and IOHK for all of your assistance, and Cardstarter for your help. And we're really excited to get started helping all these projects. We look forward to working with everyone here on the panel, any other projects that are out there, and just it's a really exciting time for us. And I hope that by the time you guys see this, the viewer, you will be able to already see Charlie oracles operating on the blockchain. That's my ambition. Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to close with saying that I'm really excited to show you what we've built, and I'm really excited to be building on the platform that we are, and go Cardano.
Okay, well, thank you everyone for joining me for this session, and I'm very excited and looking forward to what we can achieve by working together. So there's some exciting times ahead. Thanks a lot again.
The first to introduce a commercial slow gin, which is the fruit from blackthorn hedging. The first in the world to produce a hazelnut gin, and we're probably the premier producer of vodkas and gins using locally grown products that are surplus. So in the case of, say, strawberries, the strawberries are either too big or too small for supermarkets. So we provide an outlet for the growers for fruit that was previously discarded, just allowed to drop on the floor.
Yeah, that is That's quite a process. And so just to give everybody an understanding of the size of what we're doing with Philip and Straight Brand, so we're going to be doing an Atala scan implementation and deployment for 4 million bottles. So we're doing 4 million scans, 4 million bottles, and that's quite a bit, I think, of of product to really take the industry by storm, and that really takes me to my next question here. Why do you believe, as a business person, is it important to use authentication and blockchain-based authentication from what we spoke about?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the biggest issue in certain markets is counterfeiting, and we need to, just as we register trademarks, we need to protect our products, our brand, the integrity of everything that's in the bottle, everything that's on the bottle, and traceability back to Tasmania is absolutely critical, because I'm sure that as soon as this bottle hits certain countries, people will be trying to replicate it within a couple of weeks even, because you can't trust everybody most of the time, never mind all of the time. So this is absolutely critical to the launch of a super premium brand, and to have super premium authentication and traceability is absolutely paramount.
Absolutely. So then let's move on to the specifics of working together. So again, as an entrepreneur, as a business person that is looking to expand their business, that is basically, you already have a pretty well-known boutique operation, a luxury brand that is known out there for its quality, for its variety, for pride of making and such. Why did you choose to partner with Input Output, which is us, and specifically the Atala Scan solution? What was your thinking there? Why did you choose to do it with us? Why didn't you just go somewhere else, seek something easier, seek something less quote unquote complicated, although this is not complicated, I don't think, but it takes a bit of an understanding, some vision to really grasp the necessity for a solution like this.
Yes, well, because of our experiences previously in China and other parts of the Southeast Asia, this has been almost top of the list in any development of originally the Straight brand. Once we achieved the funding for our new large volume production facility, you've got to be able to support that investment, and this guarantees that if you see our bottles, you've got a Tasmanian product, you've got our own at source spring water, and what you buy is what you need to get. We chose your company because of an introduction by somebody who understood the technology, which I must admit I know little about it, apart from it delivers, and that's actually critical. And the relationship certainly with yourself has been super smooth. It's a worldwide effort, as we know from our conferences and catch-ups with your colleagues around the world, and everybody has put 100% into what we're trying to achieve, and the relationship has absolutely been rock solid, and innovative, even to the point of me requesting that the tags don't have adhesive under the top roundel. so that they don't stick to the very special feature on our bottle, on the bottle stopper, which is a wombat, which is an indigenous animal in Australia and particularly in Tasmania.
Yeah. Well, that's it's also been a pleasure working with you, Philip. I really believe that we have a lot of synergies coming into this and also continuing, because these 4 million scans, this 4 million bottles is not just one-time deal. There are other synergies that we can explore once you implement a Telescan into your product line. There are other venues that we can go down. And actually, that brings me to actually a good place to put this out. So we spoke with Philip, and we spoke with Straight.
All right. Can you say your whole name, position, and
Director of African Operations at Input Output. So one of the challenges that NGOs face is how to incentivize good long-term actions. So if you go and you build a well in a village and you put there, electric or a diesel pump, how do you make sure that someone's maintaining that pump after the NGO's left? Well, one of the things that blockchain is really good for is incentivization strategies. Somehow or another, with Bitcoin, you've got hundreds of thousands of people all the way across the world running a piece of software that verifies and looks at the network to make sure the transactions are authentic. So these kind of incentivization mechanisms are sort of a core strength of blockchain technologies and something that we're looking to apply into the impact space. There's a great expression that any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And this is really where we think the industry is going to go. As the industry matures, we expect blockchain and crypto to disappear from view and eventually just become the plumbing that's in your house. No one talks about the plumbing in their house, but you know when it's not there. So decentralization and lack of central ownership is never really a problem until it becomes a problem. In an ideal world, payment networks, which are owned by companies like Visa, they wouldn't be so expensive to use. So when we come up with this idea of trying to build a distributed and decentralized financial network, it's really just to stop the worst from happening. And the worst from happening is these centralized systems fail, that they're manipulated or shut down by central authorities.
Hola a todos, ¿qué más?
So for us, the concept
Bienvenidos
of
otra vez a
decentralization
CrypTero.
is really
Vamos a ver
about
si
building
podemos bajar.
safeguards by creating a network that's cheap, fair, and easy for anyone to access. Africa is crucially important for blockchain and Cardano. Not only does it have one of the fastest growing populations as a continent, but it's also a continent where innovation and technology is common. Mobile money actually began in Kenya. Pesa, which was launched by Vodacom, by Safaricom, now accounts for 80% of all transactions in the Kenyan economy. This is 80% of all transactions happening in digital money.
Hola, ¿qué
So
más?
when we talk about Africa and its place in blockchain, we expect the next set of innovations to really be fastest adopted within the African continent. So the Ethiopia deal with the Ministry of Education was to produce 5 million digital blockchain-based identities for the education system. The system would track educational performance for students and make it easier for the Ministry of Education to be able to allocate its resources across the country. The significance of this deal was that it was the first nation-state blockchain adoption deal really of its kind. 5 million users puts it squarely in one of the biggest deals done in the year. And this really gives us a lot of credibility to now go and start working with other governments and other stakeholders to be able to implement and deploy our technology more broadly across the world. RealFi is the concept that what we need to be doing is connecting up cryptocurrency liquidity to real-world economic value. So this is maybe unfair, but one characterization of DeFi is that people take their cryptocurrency collateral to borrow more cryptocurrency, which they invest to make more cryptocurrency. And
Hola a todos, ¿qué más? ¿Bien o qué?
Money-making tree, right, which people are participating in. Our idea with RealFi is to take some of the value and liquidity available on networks like
Estamos probando un poquito los ajustes de sonido. A ver, para que...
Estamos probando un poquito los ajustes de sonido. A ver, para que...
Listo, muy bien. Yo creo que así se escucha bien.
Listo, muy bien. Yo creo que así se escucha bien.
A US holder of ADA would probably be quite excited with a 25% a year interest rate. So we have an opportunity here to connect up high-yielding loan opportunities in markets which have a deficit of capital and liquidity.
Bueno, entonces estamos aquí en el Summit de Cardano. Estamos en la transmisión en vivo. Aquí estamos en la isla principal. Estamos viendo a John O'Connor. Nos está hablando de avances para la descentralización en África. Aquí están los mundos a los que nos podemos unir. En este momento, estas son las conferencias que estamos viendo el día de hoy. Estamos viendo en el escenario principal la conferencia con John O'Connor. En utilidad están transmitiendo la conferencia de la familia Ouroboros. En gobernanza, explorando los modelos para crear una nación de Cardano. En impacto están hablando de NFTs. En adopción están hablando sobre cadenas de distribución respaldadas por blockchain. En comunidad están hablando, están mostrando a los creadores y a los constructores. Y en Catalyst están mostrando a los proponentes. En este video quiero que veamos cómo reunir los NFTs que nos van a dar por estar atendiendo a este Summit. Aquí están los NFTs. Tenemos 7 ítems. Este primero ya nos lo dieron. El logo de Cardano. Solamente por ingresar ya nos dan este logo. Vamos a ver si somos capaces de reunir los 7. Listo, entonces en este video les quiero mostrar cómo los podemos reunir. Por acá en Discord, les voy a dejar el enlace en la descripción. Hay una guía de cómo recibir los 7 NFTs. Entonces el primero, espíritus amigables, dice que debemos saltar cerca de las mariposas y de las medusas, cerca del principio, en la isla principal, en los teletransportadores. Bisón mágico, debemos tocar 5 diferentes pozos de agua en la isla principal y 2 adicionales en 2 islas secundarias. Mariposas hermosas, visitar todas las islas. El logo de Cardano, estar aquí en el lobby principal. Mantarrayas voladoras, mirar una conferencia o tal vez 2. Dicen pues aquí en el post, todavía no está completamente confirmado porque apenas estamos explorando. Entonces dicen que mirar una conferencia o tal vez 2 en una isla secundaria por más de 10 minutos. Se puede estar AFK, no se necesita estar en pantalla completa, y algunos han sugerido que se debe estar en línea o ver presentaciones durante 2.5 o más horas, y que estas 2.5 horas no tienen que ser continuas. Si se refresca la página no se afecta este progreso. ¿A qué se debe tantas dudas o tanta incertidumbre? A que han estado chateando en el Discord diciendo, yo me gané tal NFT, yo hice esto. Entonces a medida que más personas se lo van ganando, pues se van depurando los requisitos para poder ganar cada uno de los NFTs. El día de hoy vamos a ver cuánto nos podemos ganar, si no los ganamos todos. Vamos a ver cómo nos los ganamos, listo. Árbol de la vida me dice, unirse con una persona en un chat de voz y estar allí por lo menos más de 5 minutos. Es posible que se tenga que activar el micrófono por lo menos un segundo. Y Tortuga Gentil, responder de 3 a 5 personas en el chat. El chat está en la parte de arriba del menú Info Chat. Muy importante, si estamos utilizando ad blockers hay que quitarlos, o sea, hay que permitirle el acceso a los anuncios a esta página. Y recargar arregla muchos problemas. Algunas veces se debe recargar porque el NFT, la colección de NFTs no funciona. Listo, vamos a ver si nos ganamos. Entonces, listo, ya nos ganamos el logo de Cardano. ¿Cierto? Ya lo tenemos por acá. Aquí está el logo de Cardano. Vamos a ver otro fácil de ganar. Dice, yo creo que este lo podemos hacer rápido. Bisonte mágico. Dice que debemos tocar 5 diferentes piscinas de agua en la... 5 diferentes piscinas en la isla principal. Y 2 adicionales en alguna isla secundaria. Listo, entonces vamos por ese. Vamos a buscar piscinas. Quitemos esto de acá. Aquí estamos en una, ¿cierto? Listo. Estamos en la primera. Vamos a buscar otras piscinas. Allí adelante hay otra. Vamos a cogerla. Listo. Quién sabe hasta dónde haya que meterse. Van 2. Entonces ya vimos esta de allí. ¿De cuál venimos? Esta, aquí 2. Vamos a explorar todo. Vamos a ver dónde están las piscinas. Si vemos medusas o mariposas, también hay que irlas cogiendo. Por allá en el fondo hay otra. ¿Será que hay una piscina cerca de cada teletransportador? No. No, porque aquí hay uno y aquí hay otro. No, por allí hay mariposas. Mariposas nos sirven también. Entonces, con estas son 3, ¿cierto? A ver. Si saltamos, con espacio saltamos. Cerca de las mariposas. A ver. Estamos en esta otra piscina. Vamos con 3. Allí hay unas medusas. Más mariposas. La idea es ganarnos todos los NFTs. Ya hay otra piscina. Yo no creo que esa la hayamos cogido. ¿Será que esta es la cuarta? A ver. A ver, a ver, a ver. Vamos a explorarlo todo, buscar todas las piscinas. Vamos cerquita del teletransportador de Catalyst. Esa era la cuarta. Yo creo que desde aquí fue que arrancamos, ¿no? En esta. Al lado de utilidad, sí, porque yo me acuerdo de ese man que estaba por allá arriba. ¿Dónde estará la quinta? Vamos a mirar el océano. Ah, ahí está la carita de la tortuga. A ver. De aquí nos vemos para allá, ¿cierto? ¿Dónde estará la quinta? Quinta piscina. ¿Será que está al principio? Cuando uno se conecta aparece por allá en una zona. En una zona inicial. De pronto por allá está la primera piscina. Esta ya la cogimos. ¿Quién sabe qué será esto? Nos dice que si nos queremos unir a un chat de voz. Mariposas, mariposas. A ver que ustedes también me sirven. A ver. A ver. Este casi como que no salta bien. Aquí es donde arrancamos. A ver si encontramos a alguien de un país hispanohablante, nos ponemos a hablar con ellos. Le preguntamos que si ya han hecho todos los NFTs. Aquí abajo me están apareciendo los subtítulos de la conferencia. Hay subtítulos en varios idiomas. Por aquí están. Tarararara. Aquí está, subtítulos. Los puedo escoger en inglés, francés, japonés o en español. Me falta una piscina en esta isla principal. No sé dónde andará. Esta ya lo tocamos, ¿cierto? La de la cascada. La piscina que está al lado de gobernanza. Y de impacto. Mariposas. No me han dado el NFT de las mariposas tampoco. Por ahora solamente llevamos el NFT de el logo de Cardano. Que era. Ese simplemente. Perdón. Ese simplemente es estar aquí en el lobby principal. No entiendo. Me dice que 5 piscinas acá y solamente hay 4. ¿No? Esa ya la cogimos. Sí, yo creo que sí. Yo creo que allá ya estuvimos. Esa fue la segunda. Adopción. ¿Será que nos vamos para las islas? A ver si de pronto, es que de pronto una de las piscinas, pues bueno, el de los estanques, mejor dicho. Uno de los estanques cuenta como dos, porque hay unos que son como alargados. Entonces de pronto. Pues está bonito, está bonito. O sea, mira, esta es la pantalla, ¿cierto? Y detrás está la cabeza de la tortuga. ¿Será que podemos pasar? No, no, no nos dejan. Pero hay unas rayas volando. Está chévere, está bacano el lugar que construyeron para las conferencias. Vámonos. A ver, vámonos para otro mundo. Y vamos a. Aquí están los mundos, ¿cierto? Vámonos para utilidad. Utilidad. Bueno, aquí está. Uy, esto es gente. Listo, aquí está la otra. La otra alberca. El otro estanque, el otro estanque. Vamos a recorrer lo que nos quede bien recorrido. Aquí hay otra. Ajá. Y todavía no nos han dado. Vámonos para otra. Vámonos para impacto. En impacto están hablando de NFTs. Me estoy perdiendo todas las conferencias por coger los NFTs. Quién sabe qué tanta gente estará haciendo lo mismo. Pero no. Hay una repetición en creo que son 8 horas y en 16 horas. Entonces no la podemos volver a ver. Me interesa mucho ver con ustedes la conferencia de RealFi. La conferencia es súper importante y también los anuncios del principio, donde nos dijeron que están trabajando con una empresa de telefonía para dar para dar acceso a DITs, a identidades descentralizadas, como 8 millones de usuarios. Entonces, importante. Bueno, ya yo creo que ya fuimos a a todos los estanques de la isla principal, ya fuimos a todos los estanques de otras dos islas. Por ahí nos decían que recargar solucionaba muchos de los problemas. Vamos a recargar a ver si nos dan el NFT de, ¿cuál es el de las piscinas? Bisón mágico. Bienvenido, CrypTero. Nada, todavía no. A ver, a ver, a ver, a ver. Aquí está el chat. Ah, miren, por ejemplo, aquí nos están también hablando de cómo conseguir los NFT, ¿cierto? ¡Hey, Arturo! Habla español. ¡Hey, sí! Nosotros hablamos español. ¡Hey! ¡Hola! ¿Será que le podemos...? Ah, sí, le podemos contestar directamente. Hola. Vamos a hablar con esta gente. A ver que encontró la comunidad hispanohablante. Ahora sí. Hola, ¿qué más pues? Porque hay otro NFT que nos lo dan por contestar. Dice que contestarle de 3 a 5 personas en el chat. Vamos a ver si nos ganamos ese. Saludos. Vamos a invitarlos a la transmisión, ¿no? Estoy recolectando todos los NFT. Los NFT y transmitiendo en vivo desde YouTube. Y pongámosles, mandémosles el link de la transmisión, ¿sí o qué? Esta transmisión en vivo de CrypTero. Aquí. Nos dejan hacer, nos dejan hacer publicidad, muy bien. A ver si. Entonces, esto ya que. Esto cuenta como supuestamente que 3 a 5. Volvamos al chat principal. A ver quién más. Nos dejan hacer publicidad. A ver si. Entonces, esto ya que. Esto cuenta como supuestamente que 3-5. Volvamos al chat principal, a ver quién más. Ah, mira esto. Dice, recolectar todos los coleccionables para obtener una oportunidad de recogerlo como drop aleatorio de NFT. ¿Será que sí? Que mirar. Dice, recolectar todos los coleccionables para obtener una oportunidad de recogerlo como drop aleatorio de NFT. Dice que no le funcionan las flechas. Además que es porque dice que no le funcionan las flechas. Además que es porque tal vez porque está en el chat, no. Si se desconecta y se vuelve a conectar, le pueda funcionar. Saltar cerca de una medusa para Friendly Spirits. Este ya lo hicimos, Omi, no funcionó. Es el que estamos tratando de hacer. No nos están dando ningún NFT. ¿Qué está diciendo? ¿Qué está diciendo el amigo de la Fundación Cardano? Ya no nos aparecen los subtítulos. No, que es que no estoy escuchando, aunque debería. A ver. Como la transmisión, claro. No estaba escuchando la transmisión, que para que no me interfiriera con el micrófono, pero simplemente es poner los audífonos y ya. Muy bien. No estaba escuchando la transmisión, que para que no me interfiriera con el micrófono,
Great. And then can you kick us off on this panel and introduce the panelists?
Yeah, all right. So yeah, so let's go take turn by turn, just a brief introduction. So let's start with Pi then. Pi is from Sunday Swap, where I believe, is the CIO there.
Hi, yeah. I'm Pi, like you mentioned. That is like the number. At Sunday Swap, we're building a decentralized exchange that is trying to serve the very kind of core DeFi need of somebody with one token that needs another token.
All right, next we're going to have Ben Hart, who is the Director of Cardano Operations at M Labs.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ben. I have been sort of part of the M Labs journey into Plutus over the last 8 months and have worked extensively with Dwayne as well as with Pi on their application.
A ver, sigamos con el chat. Ir a las 7 islas para mariposa hermosa. Digámosle a Derek que muchas gracias.
Hey, I'm Ilya Oskin. I'm core developer of ErgoDex. ErgoDex is a non-custodial decentralized exchange which combines a wide range of tools for trading, from constant function market makers to...
Ahí está. Tortuga amigable. A ver. Aquí está. Listo. Es confirmado. Para tortuga amigable hay que chatear. Listo. Venimos por acá. En el menú, información, chat. Y hablamos con la gente. Yo escribí como 4 veces. Le contesté a este. No sé si hablando aquí o contestándoles por este lado. Hay que explorar las opciones. Listo. Pero no está difícil. Simplemente entrar y coleccionarlos. Entrar, responder. Y ahí aparece la confirmación que no lo dieron. Ya tenemos el logo de Cardano y Tortuga Gentil. Vamos a hacerle a las mariposas. Entonces, tenemos que ir a todas las islas. Listo. La primera isla. En este momento estamos en... No, por acá. Aquí. Estamos en impacto, ¿cierto? Acá ya estuvimos en el escenario principal. Vámonos para utilidad. Ay, este es la familia Ouroboros. Esto es súper interesante. Este es el jefe científico de... El jefe científico de Cardano. Y este señor es una Biblia. Este señor sabe muchísimo. Ángelos Kiayas. Kiayas. Me imagino que es así. El man es griego y sabe mucho. Este tipo fue. Pues este tipo sabe muchísimo de Ouroboros. Cómo funciona todo el protocolo de Cardano. Es muy, muy, muy teso. No sabe uno si quedarse en las conferencias o coleccionar los NFTs. No. Este video es para coleccionar los NFTs. Vamos a coleccionarlos. Entonces ya estuvimos en el...
So it is a very useful mechanism overall, but we hope to be able to include in a future update of the live Ouroboros implementation in Cardano.
Thank you, Agalos. Let's now switch gears from throughput to focus on latency, the speed at which transactions are settled on the blockchain. Alex, can you maybe tell us about the efforts along these lines?
Yeah, thanks, Miriam. This is a big topic, so perhaps we'll organize the discussion around two threads of research. The first studies the power of parallel blockchains to improve settlement time, while the second explores the relationship between high participation and fast settlement. So a natural idea for improving the throughput of a blockchain protocol is to attempt to run several blockchains in parallel that eventually and perhaps implicitly organize their blocks to yield a global ledger. And in this line of research, we show that this idea can additionally be used to improve latency. That is the time it takes a transaction to settle. So the core result here is a black box construction that can be applied to any collection of independent blockchains. Essentially, the construction shows how to view this collection of blockchains as a single global ledger. And interestingly, no extra metadata is necessary for the technique. In fact, the constituent blockchains don't even need to know that they're a part of this grander system. So we then show that the construction
Hola.
provides linear improvement in latency.
Hola, ¿eres de Bogotá?
When applied to
Hola.
parallel blockchains, the resulting global ledger settles about m times.
No me contesta. Hola, ¿será que está AFK? Hey, si alguien me está viendo y es esta persona de Bogotá, Colombia, un saludito. Pero no dice, está en anónimo. O está muy concentrado en la conferencia o está AFK, porque no contesta. Hey, 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 hey. Hola. Hola. Hey. Hola. No contesta. No contestan. Bueno, vamos a seguir coleccionando los NFTs. Entonces, ya estuvimos en el escenario principal, ya estuvimos en utilidad. Vamos para gobernanza. También muy bacano lo que están diciendo. CIPs. Los CIPs significan propuestas de mejora para Cardano. Esto es lo que va a permitir todo el tema de gobernanza, lo que nos va a permitir votar para cambiar las características básicas de Cardano, como tamaño de los bloques, tiempo de los bloques, todo el tema de tarifas, si queremos que ya estén como dependiendo de una moneda estable, todo el tema de staking. Entonces, con esto podemos votar por mejoras en Cardano. Listo. Entonces, este es el mundo de Gobernanza. Impacto. Yo creo que ya estuvimos en impacto, pero vamos otra vez. Están hablando de contratos inteligentes. La experiencia de un desarrollador en Plutus. Vamos para adopción. Mithril. Mithril es la red peer-to-peer de Cardano. Mithril uniéndonos. No, uniendo una blockchain más liviana y fuerte. Mithril permite los clientes livianos, pero con toda la blockchain. No lo que hace Yoroi, que es una billetera liviana que depende de una empresa. Yoroi depende exclusivamente de Ergo. Mientras que con Mithril también podemos tener clientes livianos, pero no tenemos que depender de nadie. Podemos validar toda la... ¡Uy! Medusas. Yo creo que ustedes me dan otro NFT. A ver, denme NFTs. Listo. Comunidad. Vamos para comunidad. Comunidad. Están hablando de...
that transaction is signed by the seller. So what if the seller just walks away at this point? Maybe the seller thinks the final bid was too low. Maybe the seller doesn't care much about the token anyway.
Están hablando de subastas. Subastas con contratos inteligentes.
So that's a nice example bug. Obviously, there's a lot more to what we're working on. Things like do your tests, cover the code of the contract, in particular the on-chain code sufficiently well.
Y vamos para el último mundo. Catalyst. En Catalyst están hablando los proponentes. Aquí está. Muy bien. O sea que sí, con visitar todos los 7 mundos ya nos dan este. Ay, nos dieron otro. Espíritus mágicos. ¿Este qué era? Espíritus mágicos los conseguíamos. Ah, sí. ¿Sí vieron que estuve saltando al lado de esa medusa? Saltando al lado de esa medusa me dan ese espíritus mágicos, no, espíritus amigables. Muy bien. Ya tenemos 4. 4 de 7. Ya tenemos espíritus amigables, mariposas hermosas, el logo de Cardano y la tortuga gentil. ¿Cómo los conseguimos? Espíritus amigables saltando al lado de una medusa. Una de estas medusas que van por aquí volando. Una como que bajó mucho, una de estas que bajan mucho. Ahí saltamos un momentico y ahí nos la ganamos. Mariposas amistosas nos la ganamos. Ven, mariposas amistosas no, amigables. Mariposas amigables nos las ganamos visitando todas las islas. Visitando las 7 islas nos dan estas mariposas amigables. El logo de Cardano solamente es estando en la isla principal, ahí nos dan el logo de Cardano.
The broader vision of task is to provide incentives to Africans that perform the general task of becoming Cardano stakeholders. And the way we see this working, at least initially, is we're going to fund a set of Yoroi wallets that contain both native ADA and also native tokens or community tokens. So a new Cardano stakeholder can come to the Cask website or web application and essentially download one of these native the wallets that contain the native tokens and the ADA for a total value of about $10 a piece. They can spend the native tokens at a supported retail partner. As part of that transaction, at least the way that Cardano is constructed today, in addition to sending the native tokens, you also have to send over a small amount of ADA as well. then when the retail partner redeems the fiat or the native tokens for fiat at a WADA location that supports Cask, the retail partner gets to keep the ADA spent as part of that transaction. So in terms of the benefits for each of the parties involved, at least initially, the new Cardano stakeholder, the new user, has a tangible and physical introduction to the utility of Cardano. And obviously, they're getting something, at least initially, for free. The retail partner also understands how Cardano can be used and the value and trust that's baked into that system. But then broadly for the Cardano community, the real value that we're seeing is, for one, demonstrating that utility and how Cardano can be used to solve a real world problem, but also demonstrating trust and showing that we can establish trust in Cardano and the broader ecosystem and the Cardano native tokens in that local community consisting of the new stakeholders and the retail partners. And then this initial release is going to be in the form of rewards cards, but eventually we want to shift that to more of a discount card and create new financial structures. Those are detailed a bit more detail in the proposal. So who we are the WADA team. WADA has been around since the beginning of Catalyst. I've been working closely with the WADA team to structure this proposal. And you can also, in terms of what we've done so far, you can see some more of the financial models and the architecture, some more of the details in our proposal on Catalyst. We're also engaged with retail stores to understand what we could potentially support and partner with in this initial release. In terms of the plan, there's a 3-month build phase where we're building out the web app and website. We're also structuring the manual backend operations, which initially will be manual and eventually we automate those processes. And then we also need to define and build that to a retail store experience. We're then looking at a 3 to 4 month adoption phase where we're cycling the tokens throughout the community, and the deliverables will be a Cask web app, the backend capabilities, and implementation into retail stores. In terms of success, there's 2 stores that we're targeting, one in Ghana, one in DRC. We want to have about 750 new wallets distributed with about 500 purchases. We also want to demonstrate the utility of Cardano, collect data for future releases, and have net positive feedback from the community. So in summary, Cask, we think, is a really great way to introduce Africans to Cardano, demonstrate the utility of Cardano in Africa. You can find out more information about the project on Catalyst, and I want to thank you again for your time.
Hello, I'm Carl Henry of Carl Henry Global, and I'd like to thank you for visiting our proposal, Wi-Fi hotspots and internet cafes. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you.
Lack of Wi-Fi and availability of affordable computers available to Africans impedes their progress. We must make it easier and affordable.
Y ya nos ganamos otro. Ya nos ganamos mantarrayas voladoras. Para ese tenemos que ver una conferencia o tal vez 2, no se sabe bien, en una isla secundaria durante más de 10 minutos. Podemos estar AFK y no se requiere que estemos en pantalla completa. Aquí nos quedamos, estuvimos un ratico viendo esta conferencia aquí en Catalyst, propuestas de Catalyst, y nos dieron la mantarraya. Listo. A ver, vamos por otro.
Carl Henry Global was registered in March 2010 to bring together all the various business activities into one place. Carl Henry Global has employed over 150 people through the gig economy in recent years. Therefore, we have the ability to support multiple multimedia and multilingual projects across our 5 core
Y
operations.
ya nos ganamos las mantarrayas voladoras. No sé si me están escuchando, tenía el micrófono apagado. Y si ya me escucharon, pues se lo repito. Si no, aquí está. Entonces, para ganarnos esta, tenemos que estar durante 10 minutos o más viendo una conferencia en una isla secundaria. Aquí estamos en la isla de Catalyst. Estamos viendo propuestas para Catalyst. Ya nos la vimos durante más de 10 minutos y nos ganamos esta. Mantarrayas voladoras. Nos faltan dos. Este berraco bisonte mágico, hombre. Yo ya lo había hecho. O sea, para hacer este hay que ir a la isla principal. Y en la isla principal tenemos que tocar todos los charcos. Pero yo ya los toqué. Y no pasó nada. Vamos a hacerlos en orden. Listo. Entonces, pilas pues. Arrancamos desde el charco que está entre comunidad y... Catalyst. Hey, hola. Hola a todos los que están viendo esta transmisión. Bienvenidos. Ya tenemos 5 NFTs. Ya tenemos los espíritus amigables, las mariposas, el logo y el logo, las mantarrayas, la tortuga. ¿Cómo se ganan? A ver, les pongo este link de Discord en la descripción. Les voy a poner este link, el link de Discord en la transmisión del video, listo, para que puedan entrar y vean cómo se ganan. Para que puedan entrar y vean cómo se ganan. El último, ¿cuál? El de las mantarrayas. El de las mantarrayas era viendo una conferencia durante más de 10 minutos. El último, ¿cuál? El de las mantarrayas. El de las mantarrayas era viendo ese link. Viendo una conferencia durante más de 10 minutos. Ese link. Prueben ese link de Discord a ver si les funciona, ¿no? Pero es que se ve raro, es que jeje, ¿cómo que jeje? Prueben ese link de Discord. Bueno, en todo caso, por Discord deben buscar IOG Summit 2021. Ahí están las instrucciones. Aunque vamos a ver si les copio el mensaje, a ver cómo les aparece. Por Discord deben buscar IOG Summit 2021. Ahí están las instrucciones. Aunque vamos a ver si les copio el mensaje, a ver cómo les aparece. Saben que les voy a enviar les voy a mandar la descripción a cada uno de ellos. Les voy a enviar les voy a mandar la descripción a cada uno de ellos. Entonces ahí están. Espíritus amigables. Saltar cerca de las medusas. Bisonte mágico. Tocar los 5 charcos de agua. Mariposas hermosas. Visitar todas las islas. El logo de Cardano. Estar en el logo principal. Y mantarrayas voladoras. Ver una conferencia en una isla secundaria durante más de 10 minutos. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Faltan 2. Faltan el árbol de la vida. Aquí está, árbol de la vida. Árbol de la vida, chatear con alguien durante más de 5 minutos en el chat de voz. Y tortuga amigable, responderle de 3 a 5 personas en el chat. Árbol de la vida, chatear con alguien durante más de 5 minutos en el chat de voz. Y tortuga amigable, responderle de 3 a 5 personas en el chat. Los que me están viendo, sería bacano podernos reunir en el mundo virtual. Si quieren nos encontramos, búsquenme y nos chateamos por este mundo virtual. Si quieren nos encontramos, búsquenme y nos chateamos por este mundo
Solo
virtual.
que hiciste con esto que no sea él. Se dañó. De esta cajita.
Ya llegaron Carol y las niñas. Ya llegaron Carol y las niñas.
Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Qué chévere esa experiencia, está súper bacano. Hola a todos, buenas tardes. Qué lástima no haber podido estar desde más temprano, pero bueno, tenía que trabajar, pero eso está súper, súper chévere.
Vamos a tratar de coger la de los bisontes. Hay que tocar 5 charcos. Supuestamente aquí hay 5 charcos, pero no encuentro sino 4. Aquí hay 1, 2, el de allá del fondo. Esto es uno solo hasta aquí. 3 con este, 4 con el del fondo. No sé dónde está el otro, no lo encuentro.
A ver, busquemos.
Solamente nos faltan el árbol de la vida y el de los bisontes. El árbol de la vida es chateando con alguien durante 5 minutos. Solamente nos faltan el árbol de la vida y el de los bisontes. El árbol de la vida es chateando con alguien durante 5 minutos. Yo no veo más charcos.
Qué lindo, mira.
¿Qué cosa? El loguito de
El logo
Cardano.
de Cardano.
Esa es la pantalla principal. Y ahí detrás está la cabecita de la tortuga. ¿Sí la viste?
Súper lindo.
Sí, no, es que está muy bien jalado.
Otro charco, no.
No, pero aquí ya habíamos estado.
Alguien de pronto ya lo consiguió.
En el chat. Si alguien ya lo consiguió en el chat, cuéntenos. Ah, mira lo que hay por allá arriba, ¿sí ves?
Súper.
Bonito. Ah, ¿sabes qué? Esas son las otras islas. Ya, se supone que usted se para aquí y de ahí lo teletransporta allá arriba. ¿Sí ves?
Sí.
Genial.
Joder.
Mira, cada uno se conecta. Bacano, muy bonito.
Muy bien diseñado.
¿Será que esto cuenta como uno o como dos? Como dos charcos. ¿Vos qué decís?
Como dos. Puede ser. Y eso. Me cuenta como charco.
¿Será?
Esa fuente. Mira a ver.
Está escondida la otra.
Dentro de esa montaña no estará. No va para subir.
No, no deja subir. Está escondida la otra. Vamos a preguntar en el chat, ¿no?
Sí.
Miremos a ver si alguien es tan amable y nos contesta. Entonces en el chat, estamos por aquí en la I, chat. Vamos a preguntar en el chat. Vamos a decir que no. Si alguien es tan amable y nos contesta. Entonces en el chat, estamos por aquí en la I, chat. No podemos encontrar las 5 islas no podemos encontrar los 5 charcos en la isla principal. Estamos embolatados. No podemos encontrar las 5 islas no podemos encontrar los 5 charcos en la isla principal. Estamos embolatados. creo que esta es la última. Esta es la que... ¿Será que no la hemos visto? Yo no me acuerdo de haber visto esta fuente con un charco pequeño. A ver. ¡Oh, oh, oh! Muy bien. Listo.
Para ellos.
Bisonte mágico. No están difíciles de conseguir. Están fáciles. Ya tenemos 6.
Vamos por el
Bisonte
último.
mágico. Vamos por el último. El último es hablar con alguien durante 5 minutos. Supuestamente... A ver. Contemos los 5 minutos. Ah, estas cosas blancas. Estas cosas blancas son los chats de voz. Si estamos aquí adentro, significa que estamos chateando con este señor, ¿cierto? Ahí supuestamente estamos hablando con él. Aunque alguien de Corea del Sur, no sé si nos vaya a entender mucho. Hola. Hola, hola. ¿Alguien sabe cómo se dice hola en coreano?
Chau, chau.
Aunque yo creo que no hay que activar el micrófono. ¿Alguien sabe cómo se dice hola en coreano?
Wow, yo llegué, yo también, vamos a saltar. Sí, 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 no, no, estoy en un plan. Vamos.
Se supone que tenemos que hablar 5 minutos. Sí, yo creo que estando dentro de ese círculo blanco. Yo creo que estando dentro de ese círculo blanco ya estamos hablando con él.
Sí. Yo veo cuánto nos falta.
Se supone que tenemos que hablar.
Vamos por ese último.
Yo creo que estando dentro de ese círculo blanco. Yo creo que estando dentro de ese círculo blanco ya.
¿Cuánto nos falta? Sofi, mira qué lindo esto.
Nos falta un minutico.
Mira qué lindo.
Sí, qué lindo.
Se lo cargamos.
Sí, que está en Colombia.
Mira qué lindo. Muy bien.
Nos falta.
Wow, miren, la mamá y el papá, las hijas. ¿Cuántos muñecos se consiguió, papi? Por Dios.
Bastante, Sofi.
Ay.
Muchos muñecos.
¿Muchos muñecos? Wow, 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 se convirtió. Wow, 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 se convirtió. Wow, 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 se convirtió.
Bastante, Sofi.
Muchos muñecos.
Muchos muñecos. Wow, 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 se convirtió. Wow, 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 se convirtió. Wow, 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 se convirtió.
Wow.
No lo ganamos, sí.
Lo
Listo,
logramos.
o sea que las instrucciones sí, sí están bien. Para ganarse espíritus amigables hay que saltar cerca de... cer- para ganar unos espíritus amigables hay que saltar cerca de las medusas o las mariposas. Para el bisonte mágico hay que tocar 5 charcos de agua en la isla principal. La de mariposas hermosas, hay que visitar todas las islas. El logo de Cardano es estar en el escenario principal. Mantarrayas voladoras, quedarse viendo una conferencia durante por lo menos más de 10 minutos. Árbol de la vida, chatear con una persona durante más de 5 minutos. Solamente hay que abrir el chat, que aparezca el microfonito y el engranaje de configuración. Y ya con eso, quedarse ahí más de 5 minutos. Y Tortuga Gentil, contestarle a 3 o 5 personas en el chat. Listo. Eso fue, ahí nos los ganamos todos.
Misión cumplida.
Misión cumplida. Sí, señora. Contestarle a 3 o 5 personas en el chat. Listo. Eso fue, ahí nos los ganamos todos. Bueno, a ver, amor, ¿qué conferencia vemos?
Sume.
Bueno, a ver, amor, ¿qué conferencia vemos?
Sume.
Casi todas están descansando, solamente están utilidad, adopción, comunidad y catalyst.
Comunidad. Interesante, no.
En comunidad, vamos para comunidad. Casi todas están descansando, solamente están utilidad, adopción, comunidad.
So let's see here. The Cardano Waifus is one of those projects that we have limited edition drops. There's going to be 10 in this collection with only 1,000 minted per drop. Now, what's really cool here too is that each little waifu has a personality, a little biography as well that goes with it. For Cardano Waifu, she's a national born leader, always meant to shine. Her favorite drink is a snowball, and she is an inventory master. Now, again, like I said, each waifu is very, very, very personified in their respective part of the Cardano ecosystem. So my next one is actually Daedalus. I'll actually give a teaser here for you guys as well.
Estos son proyectos en Cardano.
This is SS tier card. There's only 25 available per drop, so they're very, very rare. Another really cool thing that I love about these is they're animated. I really wanted to, like I said, breathe in that life. Now, I also did all of the custom music and sound for them as well. So whenever you're hearing all that stuff going on, minus the voice, I actually got that done by an amazing voice actor. She killed it, absolutely knocked it out of the park.
Wallet and really give operations to the dApps that they will go through the dApp connector if they are implemented in that in such a manner, right? So that really from a user perspective, what you will see is to allow or not to allow given actions that they are of course accepted through the dApp connector, right? So think it that way as a bridge or an integration or an API between the dApp and the wallet, right? That will implement that dApp connector specification.
You know, that's good to hear. It gives me a bit of a warm fuzzy because when it comes to security and authenticity of wallets, so what you guys are saying is, as long as I can trust the wallet, I don't need to trust the dApp with my keys. Now, the dApp is going to do whatever the dApp does. It could be a gambling dApp, could be some type of loan, borrowing dApp, whatever that is, and I don't need to necessarily trust that as long as I know what it does. I just need to trust my keys with the Light wallet in front of me. So, with that said, how would myself as a user, how would I know a little bit more about the security of the Light wallet? How would I know that it's secure? Because that's a common attack vector that users have to face, is they get nefarious URLs that ask them to enter their private word seed, right? And then they get compromised. So how does Light wallet security work, and how can I as a user be more assured in that I'm using the right Light wallet? What are some methods I can use?
Yeah, so one thing that is kind of the best way to solve this problem is to use a hardware wallet. So the benefit of hardware wallets is not only do you get the security, but you also get access to all wallets at the same time. One thing that's super tedious about using wallets is that oftentimes different wallets have different functionality. And so for one feature, you may want to use CC Wallet. For another feature, you may want to use Yoroi, or you may want to use Dayless. And for us at DC Spark, we're writing a wallet called Flint that's mostly focused on our sidechain. So we want the sidechain to
Bueno, vamos a ver un ratico las conferencias.
So if you want to call utility style smart contract,
Bueno, vamos a ver un rato las conferencias.
But having to maintain all these different wallet installs is sometimes a little tedious. But if you have a hardware wallet, you get automatic portability across all the different applications. No matter which application you launch, no matter which wallet you launch, you're always just pressing accept on the same hardware wallet, and you get the same wallet restored on every application. So hardware wallets are not only a great security feature, but also a great usability feature as well. Now, not everybody has or wants to spend the money on a hardware wallet, despite the fact that it's not that expensive. And so if you have to use recovery phrases and you're not sure if you can trust this wallet, the easiest thing you can do is make sure you're downloading the right thing. Check user reviews, number of downloads, this kind of information. And also, as you're using a wallet, first try it with kind of a test recovery phrase and look at the network tab in your browser. So all browsers, Firefox, Edge, Chrome, come with a debug tool with a network tab. And if you look at that network tab, you can see what is getting sent to the Light wallet server. And so if you just restore kind of a dummy wallet just to test it out, you can see what is being sent to the server and decide based off the data it's sending and receiving whether or not this wallet they're testing out is actually real or if it's malicious.
Yeah, I think additionally to the hardware wallets, those are a great point. It comes like twofold here as well, which comes those that are more on the technical side, they could review the actual implementation of those wallets, right, if they are open source. So there is that always an alternative for new wallets coming out from the community. But for those that are out there already and exist, the best method for anyone really about to download the different apps is to really follow the formal and the real websites of the companies that are offering those wallets, right, to ensure that you download the correct one. And additionally to this, I think as all the communities should do an effort as well to improve the education about Cardano and what really, that you shouldn't be sharing your recovery phrase and all this, right? So there is still an opportunity for the community and all the companies here to help with that education for any newcomer on Cardano, right?
Yeah, I like the idea of using the hardware wallets and also triple checking the URL, that you have the correct URL that you are using the wallet, the Light wallet on, right? Because those are all very important for user security. And the next part we were going to touch on was the different mobile or the different web browsers. I mean, so what are different web browsers of compatibility? What's the best web browser to use with the current selection of Light wallets? For example, we have CC Wallet. Does it work in Opera? Does it work in Brave? Or do you need to stick with the meat and potatoes of Firefox and Chrome? What do you guys think about the different web browsers, and how do you verify that? How do you get that compatibility with the different web browsers?
Yeah, nowadays, nowadays we have quite a good compatibility between the browsers. I come from a background of online advertising 5 to 8 years ago, and it was a nightmare. Currently, they are all working on standards and following them through. And the only thing that we fight with is that is a problem is privacy browsing. So if the user selects to delete the cache of the browser on closing the website, then obviously all the locally stored data about the wallet is lost. But if they have their recovery phrase or just have their hardware wallet, they can easily pair it again with the light wallets, no problem. With CC Wallet, we implemented a export in form of a encrypted JSON file that you can just store locally. So you don't have to deal with pairing or your mnemonic phrase again. You just load that file. You can have it in the cloud and load it on your mobile phone. So it's easy to move the wallet around to use it with our website. So even if you have Brave and it's getting rid of all the data on closing the tab, you can just easily import that wallet again. So that's how we circumvent this privacy feature.
Yeah, if I can add to that also, so there's kind of two main types of light wallets that exist right now. One of them are standalone websites. For example, CC Wallet is a standalone website, 808 is a standalone website. And then there are browser extensions, such as Udoi, for example. And so for browser extensions for like Udoi and what Flint will be, is you have to actually download it from the Chrome store or the Firefox store. Now that means that to get these extensions updated, similar to Apple, similar to Android, you need to actually be approved by Chrome and Firefox, and sometimes they don't play nice. There's been many times where Udoi was temporarily removed from either Chrome or Firefox. Other wallets in the crypto ecosystem have had the same issue, like MetaMask has had this issue as well. Gnosis Safe has had this issue as well. So with browser extensions, more than a compatibility issue, there is a certain gatekeeping issue. With these platforms that can sometimes just choose to hide a wallet. From a functionality perspective, usually most things are supported across browsers. Usually the one thing that has trouble with cross-browser compatibility is hardware wallets, because for a hardware wallet you need to actually connect to USB devices or Bluetooth devices on your computer, and the different platforms don't like exposing this kind of functionality. Now Chrome is the most open about exposing all your information, any opportunity, because Google can take advantage of that. And so they tend to be like the easiest to implement for hardware wallet support, but at the same time they extract as much information as they can from your system through that. Other platforms like Apple and Firefox are more restrictive about what they allow apps to access and how they allow it to access, and so that causes more friction with hardware wallet devices and some functionality, because that is not available in Apple and sometimes may not work that well in Firefox. But this is kind of the trade-off that was mentioned earlier between privacy and functionality.
Thank you, Sebastian. How do we see these wallets evolving, these light wallets running inside a web browser, whether it's with an extension or not? How do we see them evolving with smart contracts and the dApps? What are you guys doing moving forward to get smart contracts displayed so that users can interact with them inside the light wallets?
Yeah, so there's a lot of work going on Plutus, on the Plutus side, to basically enable this. Now, the Plutus initial release was kind of a let's get something out the door, and so that's why it's only available for full nodes. We do have an internal plan I'd say we as the ecosystem, like a plan of how to bring Plutus to light wallets, and so we know all the requirements of the functionality that is needed, and those need to be built. So there's a certain amount of it's in the works, it's coming, but in general, there will be some friction due to the nature of Haskell code and the limitations of writing Haskell in the browser. And so we'll probably see a new kind of wallet come out as well, which is like a more of a hybrid between browser and desktop. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see in the future browser extensions that use browser extension specific functionality to allow connecting to applications that run your computer, and you can use this to basically run a smart contract execution framework on your computer that actually runs the smart contract and connect to it from your browser. So I think probably this will be one of the fastest ways where people will be able to actually connect smart contracts to their wallets, and I'm excited to see if anybody tries that out. Some other projects like us at Flint and DC Spark, we're going kind of a different direction, where instead of trying to focus on this, we're instead focusing on Solidity compatibility for the Cardano ecosystem, so that through our wallets we'll be able to provide functionality for Solidity style smart contracts on the Cardano blockchain, and that's kind of our main focus. So there's different streams all being tackled kind of in parallel but different teams, and so these will all eventually come out probably at different times, and because they're technical in nature, I'm sure nobody wants to commit to a specific date, but hopefully you can see there's kind of different approaches people are taking, and I'm excited to see which ones come out first and the different trade-offs each one has.
Thanks, Sebastian. What about with Daedalus and CC Wallet? Are there any similar plans to run local apps and the wallet connects local, or are you going to retrieve it from a centralized server? How's that going to work?
So for CC Wallet, I have to say that our small team didn't look into smart contracts yet. We are waiting for solutions that Sebastian just mentioned to have an easier time to implement it. We will certainly go for a browser extension as well at some point, just to reassure people that it's all running locally. And for smart contracts, I guess we are talking with some of the swaps that are coming up on the chain, and they will hopefully also have some technical insights for us how to connect to their platforms.
All right, thank you, Marcel. Now, I do have to say, you did a great job displaying native tokens in CC Wallet. So when I want to display native tokens, I'm now going to CC Wallet. When I want to see my reward history, look in Yoroi, because you can put the same wallet in the same browser, right? Yoroi is really good at displaying reward history, and then Daedalus is all around just fun for me to play with. And for me, for some strange reason, Daedalus tends to be a little bit more reliable connecting sometimes, especially near the turn of the epoch. But that's just in my particular location with my internet connection. So a little bit more about Daedalus. Are there plans for a Daedalus Lite wallet in the future?
Yeah, no. So as I was alluding to a little bit earlier, we do think that the full node wallet is a bit more for enterprise applications, or at least that's the direction that we want to take that in. So we do want to make sure that for our current users of Daedalus, we are also getting like a lighter wallet experience. So there is a keynote talk that I'm doing about the IOG Lite wallet experience, and we'll be sort of like displaying some of the features that are coming out in there. So it's probably best to watch that one. But yes, there is definitely a strategy to sort of merge all the products that IOG is working on the sort of one umbrella, and then allowing anybody to use that, and hopefully that will be an experience that is going to draw your attention, Rick.
Excellent, thank you, Alex. So for the viewers, be sure to check out the other presentation at the Goguen Summit here that Alex will be providing more information there. So that would be great to get more details. Gentlemen, we covered pretty much everything we had on our list of items that we wanted to touch on. The background and staking with exchange with wallets. What is the best wallet? We didn't really touch on what is the best wallet for NFTs yet, but that kind of goes with the tokens. Does anyone have an opinion? What do you think is the best wallet for NFTs so far? Is it Daedalus, CC Wallet, Nami Wallet, Yoroi? What do you think? That was one of our talking points, so you got to get your inputs in.
Well, what I can say from Yoroi perspective is that at the moment we are improving, and soon enough, like next week or the following one, we're going to be releasing a better way to really visualize your tokens and NFTs, and then additionally improving all the way that we are sending the different native tokens. That's in the short term. In a bit longer term, like or midterm really, like in a month or so, we are doing a big redesign, as I'm talking in the presentation separately, where we're going to bring in like an NFT gallery and really a way to see your whole portfolio and be able to operate with all the native tokens, right? So we understand there is a huge from the community with anything to do with NFTs and native tokens, really. Therefore, we have reacted and we are really improving the way we'll display those and really operate with them from a user perspective.
All right, thank you, Sergio. And I'm glad I went through the summary here of our key points that we wanted to hit on. One of them I had missed was on ranking. So on ranking, the question was, how can we do better with ranking? Currently, Daedalus displays the stake pool rankings with the non-myopic method, mathematics running in the background. And with Yoroi, it is pulling the data from ADA pools to get the ranking from there as well. So some of the key complaints I've heard from people with the ranking is that, especially in Daedalus, it'll cut off somewhere between 550 and 575, and it'll stop ranking the pools. And then from there on, they all have the same number attached. For example, 575, and then they're all orange. They're like a really dark orange, meaning that they're not going to display. So that was one. And the other one is that there are wallets down below in Daedalus that fall into that above the 500 range, and it'll say that what are the rewards for that wallet, and it will say the rewards are 0 when in fact those pools are actually providing rewards. Those are two of the most common complaints. So what are y'all's thoughts on ranking, and how can we do better?
So I think I'm considering this is definitely a complaint that we've seen in the community, and something that we've been trying to address within Daedalus. So it's probably important to realize that the non-myopic ranking function comes from the node, and as everybody knows, like the node has been working really hard in order to deliver Goguen. But at the same time, we have been able to sneak in at least one of the promised features. So there's the desirability as addition to sort of like the non-myopic ranking. So that should be coming out Daedalus pretty soon. Again, it's of a technical nature, so we're not tying down to it yet, but it should be coming out pretty soon. And then at the same time, I believe there's another talk, which is not for me, about two new types of ranking functions. Now, one of the things that we have been talking about is like, okay, well, whatever ranking function you're going to create, like somebody's going to be at the top and somebody's going to be at the bottom, and somebody's going to be unhappy. And that's that's unfortunately the nature of the game. But I'm happy to hear different opinions about it.
Yeah, well, I like to expand on that actually. From Yoroi, we're exploring two different paths. First of all, to really move from a ranking to more of a recommendation or score, similar to some of the agencies that do ratings, so really a rating, so that there is a clear criteria and there is not actual ranking of top 1 and top 3,000, but there's actually different buckets and segments where you can fall in, right? And within those, like, you can go into more of a random selection or different ways to display them, right? So that there is no such a stake pool that falls really down below, right? That's one, but at the same time, we want to allow, and we are discussing it at the moment, the ability for some of those stake pools to promote themselves with an easy way to stake, right? So at the moment, they need to scroll down or say their ticker to their to the Cardano holders. But the idea would be to really find a way to implement an easy way to stake and delegate to that given stake pool. Imagine on their website, if they have a website for the stake pool, so sort of having like a widget or a way to interact from that website or promotion or Telegram, wherever that is, and then find a way, in our case for Yoroi, to directly delegate, right? So the entry point for the users is easier and they don't need to search or scroll down. So all the information could sit outside of Yoroi, but then integrate it down into Yoroi for the quick delegation from a stake pool perspective.
Yeah, I would like to add that I'm really looking forward to multi-delegation, where we can just choose certain pools of pools, and then this ranking problem won't be as huge as it is now. So if you are looking for charity pools that are just a list of 20 pools, then you can delegate to those. If you want OG pools that were here in the ITN, you can delegate to those pools. All of your ADA are distributed on all those pools. So the ranking will get less significant in the future, and I'm looking forward to that.
On the front side or is that something on the back end, or is it both? How's that going to work?
Yeah, we have to display the different pools you can choose from, and those portfolios, those are called portfolios, will have a certain weight on all of the single pools that are on that list, and your ADA will be distributed evenly onto those pools. The specification for that was done via a Cardano improvement proposal, and it's ready to be implemented. So yeah, we just, as a wallet ecosystem, just need to do that now.
Thank you, Marcel. That's excellent. So I guess the key focus there is to make sure it's easy for the delegators. Matthias, please.
Yeah, I was about to say, I think I know exactly where you came from, Rick, sorry, because you've been part of the ITN, so you've seen like all the Mongander nodes and whatnot, right? And there was this feature at the time where you could have multi-delegations done at the protocol level, which was a thing there, but that was not kept with the Haskell nodes in the end. And the reason for that is the amount of complexity it adds on the ledger, right? So at this stage, the multi-delegation is handled purely by the wallet, and it's a solution done by the wallet clients. In a way, it organizes the stake key management and how we choose to create that portfolio and make sure that the right amount of stake is delegated to the right stake pool. So that's sort of a shift of complexity onto the wallets, but that's for the best because then we keep the layer one less complicated and focused on managing smart contract, managing the ledger state, and making sure that it's all safe.
Okay, so that's more of a feature that could be implemented in any wallet if you keep it on the wallet side, and then the creators of the wallets have different methods they can use to present that to the users to allow them to select different groups of pools. Does anyone have a time horizon, maybe in the next year, by 2023, it's possible we could have multi-delegation, because users are interested in that. Stake pool operators tend to be a little bit more vocal about things like ranking and multi-delegation, but I have heard from users who are interested in multi-delegation. Any time horizon on that, or guesses?
Yeah, so if you want this to be implemented at the protocol level, the main thing is that the team at IOHK that's working on the core protocol was busy with Alonzo, right? So trying to add in another protocol feature would mean delaying the Alonzo release, which is not really something that we wanted to do. So now that we have Alonzo out the door, there's kind of more options that can be done. So if you wanted to kind of voice your opinion about what should be included in the next hard forks, like Babbage, now's the time to make these kind of Cardano proposals. Now, obviously, these are fairly technical in nature, and so unfortunately, it's hard for any person to come in and make these proposals without deep knowledge of mathematical specifications in Haskell. But part of the Cardano 2026 roadmap, or whatever it's going to get called, is trying to distribute the development of Cardano, to have it not just be HK, but have it be kind of a growing ecosystem of companies building out the ecosystem. And so if people want to be involved in that kind of process, if any companies are interested, now's the time to kind of get started. There's Catalyst and other funding methods in Cardano to basically get your company funded to do this kind of core development work. And IOHK and other companies in the Cardano ecosystem are more than happy to work with people on this.
Awesome. Thanks, Sebastian. I did not know that the next hard fork was called Babbage, I guess named for Charles Babbage. All right, so the last key point, we are done here today, and that is, the question was, how do we think wallets need to evolve to make crypto more available to the mass markets, or in other words, more user-friendly? So what are your takes on that? What do you have for us? How do we make it better?
Okay, maybe I will start, and maybe it's a controversial take on that, but I do think that wallets should stop trying to be too simplistic, right? In the same way, if you have your car and you have the car manual, you can deep dive into it and repair things yourself. Right? You just have to follow the instructions, right? And to use the car, you don't have to know how it works. But if you want to, go underneath and do some of the stuff yourself, you still have the option to, and that's how you learn in the end, right? Like with any system. So I think on the long term, the wallet should give more and more control to users on how they can do things, how they can interact with every little components of their wallets, so that people can start learning a bit more about crypto, learning more how it works, how how things are behind the scene. So of course, by default, when you enter a wallet, you get some very simple interface. There is some hand holding for you, and you get this a soft onboarding to the process. But as you get to know more how things work, you want to dive a bit more into it, and you want to understand how it's happening, how things work. And I think it's important for people to understand, and that's the whole point of crypto in the end. You are in charge of your own credentials, of your own assets, of your own funds. So you gotta have some level of understanding of how things are going, right? Otherwise, you're gonna make mistakes, and that's the same question you asked earlier. How do you make wallets more secure? How do you prevent people from getting scammed? Well, you educate people, right? And you get to teach people how to take care of their assets, how their keys, and they don't have to understand how the protocol works on the nifty details, but at least they can steadily get to know how this whole machinery works and turn on more complex features as they advance. But that's only my take on that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we are actually at the end of our time, so I don't think we have the time to actually respond to this controversial comment right now.
Okay, thank you, Alex. On that note, we will be wrapping it up. So looking for, in the future, a little bit more simplicity with the user ability to turn on the more advanced features, similar to how Yoroi is now. It has the simple and advanced option. And as smart contracts and dApps continue to deploy, there will probably be features there where you can either hide or display things as needed. So that would be a great way moving forward, in my opinion. I really like that concept. Thank you for that, Matthias, Sergio, Alex, Marcel, Sebastian. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Alex, I'm going to hand over the last words to you, sir. Wrap us up. What do you got for us?
Oh, the honor is great, Rick. Thanks. Yeah, no, I would like to thank all of our panelists for their great contributions and their insights. And I believe some of you even have follow-up conversations and follow-up talks. So be sure to view those as well. And I hope everybody's having a great summit.
So what comes next after Alonso? What's coming next is what we're calling the Babbage era. And what we're doing is we'll be rolling out various performance improvements. Some of the things we've been working on for some time, we've held off rolling out with the Alonso hard fork. So there'll be various performance improvements. We'll be looking at improving the syncing speed. We will be looking at smoothing out some of the bumps that some of the stake pool operators have reported to us, giving a better overall experience to the network users. And very importantly, we'll also be thinking about how to improve the Plutus script specific aspects of the system. So how do we make things run faster? How do we increase the number of Plutus transactions that we can put through in each block? We'll also be rolling out new versions of the Plutus language with additional features that users have requested of us, and we'll be looking to further decentralize the Cardano ecosystem in various ways. So what happened before Alonso? Philip?
Yeah, before Alonso, we had Shelley, Allegra, and Mary. So with the Shelley release, we decentralized the network. So this is a proof of stake. Cardano is a proof of stake blockchain. And with Shelley, we actually started running this in a decentralized manner where people who own some ADA can delegate it to pool operators. And it's a pretty big network. So we have over 2,800 active pools, according to monitoring websites. And yeah, so since Shelley, you can delegate your stake. You can also get rewards for that. And these pool operators run nodes on your behalf, and the more stake they get delegated, the more blocks they get to produce.
That's not all, Philip, right? So back in Shelley, we were thinking ahead to Alonso, and we were thinking we would need scripts, right? So already in Shelley?
Yeah, already in Shelley, we did introduce some scripting functionality. We added some rules to the ledger to process scripts. But we didn't have Plutus yet, and so we added simple scripting languages which you can use to define multi-signature conditions. So saying, okay, I have these 5 keys and I need signatures from 3 out of them. Time locks, or also like time-dependent scripts saying, okay, and in this, up until this point, those signatures will do. Afterwards, another signature will do. Things like that. And yeah, so we have basically the ledger is prepared to handle scripts, and now with Alonso we added Plutus, and before that we had this very simple dedicated language. Yeah.
So it's perhaps worth noting there that in particular we had script addresses already. So we had all the basic infrastructure to be able to handle scripts. So surprisingly little actually was added with Alonso in a way. There's quite a lot that was already there. It's just it was sort of latent and not really being fully utilized until we had an interesting script language, which of course is what we have with Plutus.
Yeah, so we could test that whole infrastructure out already, see that we have script addresses both for payment and for delegating, which is worth noting. And yeah, so now it's plugging in the Plutus interpreter in addition to that other language that we still have. And we also have the ability to add more languages. So it's a flexible framework. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Philip. But we're also running, you said, in a decentralized way, right?
Yeah. So we have nodes all around the world and independent stake pool operators, about over 2,800 of them. Now the remarkable thing is that these thousands of stake pools are distributed across the globe, and nevertheless we managed to get blocks across the network reliably and efficiently and in a very robust manner. So in Cardano we have new blocks on average every 20 seconds, and unless we get them through the whole network, or at least to the next block producing node, in that time we get temporary forks. And that happens very rarely. I mean, with the consensus algorithm, with the prayers, you occasionally do have some, but we're measuring the performance of the system, we're measuring the block propagation times, and this is all well within the region that is necessary in order to have a stable and growing chain.
it's blocks in Europe, blocks in North America, blocks in South America, blocks in Australia, blocks in Africa, Philip.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So again, before Plutus, we'd added some additional functionality, Philip. Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, so one thing that is, I think, quite unique about Cardano is that we have native assets, so that we, right in the bookkeeping of the system itself, we don't just have one currency, but we have the ability to have multiple currencies right in the UTXO. So you don't need any kind of special transactions, special scripts in order to transfer tokens that you minted. But you can have them right in the UTXO, and you can transfer them with ordinary transactions. And so, yeah, we added the capability to use scripts first in the simple scripting language, where you could have like some keys that are allowed to produce new tokens or to burn them, and to create your own tokens and to use them on the chain.
So what's this example all about? I can see it's a pig image service, and Mint doesn't Mint go with lamb, Philip?
Nah, I guess it depends on your taste or how you want to season it. So this is a pig minting facility, and you can send some ADA there and get some pigs back for a small fee. Then you can also like blend them together, or if you're unhappy with them, you can have them burnt.
So it's a nice little whimsical example, but it's illustrative of the many kinds of things you can do with tokens. So you can mint the tokens, you can use them, you can keep them in your wallets, and you can return them once you finished using them. So that's what the burning is doing. Great.
Yeah, and we have quite a number of those tokens on the chain already. So even before Alonso, before Plutus, there were over 500,000 tokens created on the Cardano mainnet, and we saw quite an increase in the transaction volume since we added that functionality. So yeah, this is a histogram over time about like how many of those tokens were created.
I think it's perhaps worth noting that we introduced tokens before smart contracts, but obviously tokens go very well with smart contract functionality. But it made sense for us to deploy them first because they are useful on their own, and also it's a way of kind of phasing things in. So introducing multiple tokens, native assets, was quite a big change that all the exchanges and other people and wallets had to deal with. So it was useful for us to be able to bring that in first before bringing in the full smart contract functionality. Although obviously they do work very well together, and there's a lot of use cases where you would want to be using both. But there are definitely still a lot of benefits from having assets not being encoded within scripts, but being a native thing on the platform. It becomes a lot more efficient and a lot cheaper and simpler and more secure. So I think it's one of the nice innovations of Cardano compared to some other systems where they just encode all of their custom tokens as part of expensive scripts.
So we've spoken about Alonso quite a lot, and Alonso was the hard fork where we rolled out the smart contract capability using on-chain Plutus scripts. Now, what's quite interesting for me as a functional programmer is Plutus is a functional language. It's a purely functional language. In fact, it's a subset of a language that I've worked on for quite a long time called Haskell. So now we have Haskell-powered scripts behind one of the world's most successful blockchains. And here's a little example of a script that I ran on the Alonso testnet over the weekend. What it's doing, it's a minting script. So we've mentioned native tokens, we've mentioned minting, and what this lets me do is to programmatically mint or burn or transact with tokens. So I've gained a lot of capabilities. So I can set up things, for example, like a token factory where I need to supply a different redeemer for each token based on some other piece of information where I can check that I'm only minting one instance of an NFT. So there's all kinds of checking and validation you can now do in your scripts, all kinds of fun things. And we'll see many more of these examples roll out. Go on, Don.
You can now have complex conditions on your minting with Plutus, whereas previously you could mint things and you could use scripts for that, but the scripts could only express very simple conditions like, these two people have to agree before something can be minted. Whereas now with Plutus, you can express complex conditions, including, as Kevin said, things like how many of them there are in the world, so that you can guarantee uniqueness, for example.
So we've spoken about Alonzo, we've spoken about Plutus. What's going to happen next? Well, the next thing that we're going to see is going to be the Babbage era. What we're going to do with Babbage is to make various performance improvements. We've had these in the pipeline for quite a long time, but we've deliberately avoided rolling them out so that we didn't disrupt the Alonzo rollout, we didn't disrupt the first version of Plutus. But these will bring benefits to a large number of users. So we're looking at improving the syncing performance, we're looking at smoothing out some of the bumps that we've seen in the chain production that some of the SPOs have reported to us. And we're also looking very importantly at optimizing things like the size of the Plutus scripts so that we can transact at an even higher rate on the blockchain with the new capability. We're also going to be rolling out new Plutus language versions, adding in additional functionality, additional features into Plutus. There'll be some exciting capability that people would like to see in Plutus that we will be rolling out over the next few weeks and months. And we'll be aiming to further increase the decentralization of the blockchain. So in terms of Plutus, what's coming up? Well, the first thing you're going to be seeing is going to be the Plutus application backend. We'll also be looking at improving the speed of the interpreter. That will bring advantages to all Plutus users. We'll be looking, as I said, at reducing the script size, adding in new language features. And one thing that's going to be quite important is that we'll be adding in the ability to sign decentralized applications directly from user wallets. So users will be able to verify that you should be able to spend from a particular Cardano token, for example. It's not just about enhancing the capability of the system, it's also about other things too, right, Duncan?
Yes. So, when Philip earlier was talking about, we have our decentralized network, this is the kind of the crypto view of the world of calling the network really the blockchain network. But when a computer scientist talks about the network, they're really talking about the lower level, like the level of TCP connections between nodes. And that's an area where we need to complete the decentralization. So, overall, Cardano is moving to being fully decentralized in all aspects. We've already done decentralized block production, that's what we had with Shelley. Voltaire is going to be giving us decentralized governance, but there's this third pillar, which is decentralization of the actual network infrastructure. This is at the level of TCP connections between nodes, is what I mean when talking about the network layer. So, right now what we have is a hybrid, partially decentralized, partially federated network infrastructure, where the SPOs all form a kind of manually configured peer-to-peer network with each other, but all of the deadless users and exchanges are going via relays that are provided by IOHK. And we need to get to the situation where everything is fully decentralized, and that means, in the jargon, that means a peer-to-peer networking topology, where everybody is kind of on the same level, and they're just all talking to each other in a manner that's automated and I mean to do that in a way that satisfies the requirements of security and the requirements of performance that Ouroboros has. So the peer-to-peer networking project, which has been running for well over a year now, is to get us from that setting where it's kind of partially federated with IOHK relays providing some of the service to a setting where it's fully decentralized, and it's the SPOs providing the service to exchanges and relays directly, rather than going via IOHK relays. Now, to do that, there's a lot of interesting engineering in the background. The rollout of this is going to be that we will do a testnet with SPOs. Then eventually, after that, we will roll it out on the mainnet for SPOs only initially, and then finally, we will move to the setting where deadless users and exchanges are also joining and taking part in that peer-to-peer network, and then we will turn off the IOHK relays. So it'll be a phased deployment because we have to do this very carefully, because we're doing this on the live system. So it has to be one of these very careful, step-by-step rollouts. Testnet, and then a partial mainnet deployment, and then a full mainnet deployment. So the peer-to-peer project is about doing exactly that, and as I said, it's been going on for some time. Been in development. It's one of these things we've got to do quite carefully. This will be rolled out in various stages. In particular, initially it will be rolled out with the SPOs. So the SPOs will be part of an automated peer-to-peer network, and then ultimately, on the final phase, we will have end users, deadless users, wallet users, exchanges, etc., all being part of that same peer-to-peer network, and we will be able to turn off the federated relays that IOHK has been running up until now. So that's the goal of the peer-to-peer networking layer, to completely automatically operate the network in a decentralized manner, and be resistant to attacks, and also achieve the performance requirements that Ouroboros requires. It's a really interesting topic. Loads of detail we could go into, but not enough time to do that right now. And that'll be rolled out over the next few months. We'll be doing testnets, and then phased, careful step-by-step deployment, because we have to change this over on the live system, and so that's something we want to do very, very carefully. So this is a visualization of some data we collected from running one of our prototype peer-to-peer nodes, or one of our nodes in the peer-to-peer mode, on the mainnet actually some months ago. So this is a data gathering, and then this is visualizing what we see. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing the perspective of a single node, a single relay that was deployed on the mainnet, and we're seeing its connections to other nodes in the system. So the peer-to-peer node is searching and gathering other nodes to talk to, establishing connections to those nodes, and then we're looking at the data that we get from those nodes. We're seeing the headers that we receive, and in particular, what the visualization here, I mean, it's showing we're getting nodes from different parts of the world, North America, Asia, Europe, etc. But the particular thing that we're seeing here is that we're seeing a count of the number of times that a particular node gives us a header first, because that metric turns out to be rather interesting and useful. Which for a block that we later came to adopt, that we in our chain, which node was it that gave it to us first? That metric, who was first, turns out to be a good measure for sort of the quality of performance of a peer, and so we use that to measure and then rank the peers, and that's actually what you see down the left-hand side of the screen, with all those the names of all those stateful operators. The count at the side is how many times was that peer the first to give us a header that we later adopted as part of our chain. Because the ones that give it to us first, that's some measure of quality of network connection with them. They're nearby, they're responding quickly, they have a substantial fraction of stake as well. So we use that we partly base our choice of nodes on that metric, and we have so we slowly churn our choice of peers, and we will get rid of a few of the worst ones, and we'll randomly pick a few more. And we have simulation results that of a network-wide simulation, like 10,000 nodes, that kind of large-scale simulation, which indicates that if we use this kind of optimization procedure on each node, that will globally give us an outcome that is quite robust, and also gives us short network paths, which is what we need to achieve the highest performance of the system. So this is a local metric and a local optimization procedure that at the global level of the entire peer-to-peer graph gives us a good overall outcome in terms of performance and robustness.
So peer-to-peer, Duncan, remind me, what's it about? It's all about decentralization, right? So we're also looking at scalability
that's what we are doing with the Hydra design. So the basic idea is there will be a dedicated talk about this, but the basic idea is you don't want every transaction to have to be written to the chain itself, and instead you can form temporary Hydra heads where you process some transactions, and then you can basically have some transactions processed off chain and only write the final state after some transactions have been processed back to the disk. So if we go to the next slide, you see the Cardano chain, which is running indefinitely. And then at some point, if a group of people want to do some transactions, they can take some of their UTXO entries and commit them to form a so-called Hydra head. And then that Hydra head lives for a certain time. And within that Hydra head, we have a very efficient consensus algorithm, which basically relies on everybody just agreeing on all the transactions that are valid. And that's not something that you want to do in a globally distributed network, because you need everybody to actually give their consent. And that would be hard to do for like if you wanted to have all the SPOs, for example, be online all the time. That wouldn't be practical for thousands of people. But within such a Hydra head, you can just say, okay, you agree which transactions are confirmed. And the benefit of that is that it's very efficient, it's very timely. So as soon as one transaction is confirmed in that head, you have a guarantee that you can also write the result back to the chain. And then after that Hydra head has done its job, you can commit the final state from that head back to the chain. And then you gain scalability by having multiple heads open at the same time. So anybody, it's not a privileged thing, but anybody can just open a Hydra head between multiple parties, and then they can process some transactions and write the result back to the chain. And one of the nice things about this is that it is actually isomorphic to the model on the chain. So you have the same UTXO model in the Hydra head that you have on Cardano itself, and that allows you also to do smart contracts in Hydra and to not. It's basically the transactions in a Hydra head look the same as they look on the chain itself, and so it's a nice way of scaling it up by just opening these ephemeral things. There's also multiple other extensions that the Hydra team is looking at, like head-to-head communication. There's a new protocol coming along, which is less symmetric, the Hydra tail protocol. And yeah, that is what we have in store for scaling in terms of processing more transactions without filling the chain and exceeding the volume of transactions that you can handle on the chain. Because you can always do performance improvements and try to increase the number of transactions that the chain itself can handle, but it will always be limited. And by saying, okay, you can have independently open up multiple heads, that's a way of achieving true scalability.
And looking forward, beyond that, one of the important things that we're going to be doing is to introduce decentralized governance into the blockchain. So we have decentralized block production, we have a decentralized network, we have enhanced scalability primitives through UTXO storage, through Hydra. But as we move towards Voltaire, what we'll also be doing is to decentralize the governance process, to open up the governance of the blockchain from its current federated state, so those who hold ADA will also control the Cardano blockchain. And the way this is going to work is there will be a series of stages. We will have proposals put into the system, so people will be able to introduce new ideas, discuss them in the community. Assuming an idea is accepted through the ideation phase, and this will be done initially at least using the existing Catalyst framework, once the community has voted on and agreed that an idea should be put into practice, what we need to do is then produce a suitable design for that idea, to produce one or more implementations that meet the design criteria, and then we can move this forward to confirmation, on-chain confirmation by ADA holders that the implementation is what they intended and that the implementation should be enacted. This will apply to protocol parameters, things like the transaction size, things like the fee structure that we'll set up on Cardano, but it'll also apply very importantly to future protocol upgrades. So the community will be in charge of not just setting a few little parameters, but also ultimately how the blockchain as a whole evolves, how the protocol evolves, what new features we implement, when do we implement them, when do they come into force, etc., etc. So it's going to be a major step change in terms of how the blockchain is governed.
That will give everybody the ability to working with some SPOs. We'll have some kind of dynamic portals and charts and ways that you can actually interact with that data. And maybe we can even share the data with you too, you know, if somebody wants to do something else with it, you know. So yeah, that's been a good summary of everything that we're doing. I wanted to also ask all of you, you know, one thing you're looking forward to. We're all going to be at the summit. It's going to be great. It's going to be exciting. We're going to meet some people. But then we're going to get back to work, right? So yeah, we'll do round robin. I'm going to put you on the spot, Neve. What are you looking forward to after the summit?
After the summit, Ben, well, I think it'll be great to have connected with our colleagues and community members there, obviously, and I think afterwards is to kind of build on that. I think we're all missing those physical connections a little bit and meeting and seeing people. So I hope that that really kind of brings everyone together a little bit more, and then we can go back to work and build on it and really reach out to each other. And, you know, I think something that we all need to kind of improve on a little bit is to signpost around between all our resources and kind of keep people in that loop, keep people in the family, in the Cardano family and community, I think. We have a lot of sites, and I think it's, if we signpost correctly from one to another, I think that's something on the doc side that we're going to work on. So if you're in Essential, you go to Cardano Docs, you know where to go next, you come back, you go to Plutus Pioneers or Alonzo, etc., and you stay in that circle. And then I think on the education side, I suppose we'll be planning for more in-person events, hopefully, in 2022. I think that would be nice to get planning for those.
And Matthew, what have you got planned for Discord? What are you looking forward to after the summit?
I mean, I'm just really looking forward to the next iterations of Plutus Pioneers, as well as
Atala Prism. Yeah.
Really excited for that. And I'm really excited to see different ways that we can help people engage, because we've had sort of the core areas that mostly people have been pioneering themselves, and it's been mostly focused in the very technical stuff. However, we're thinking we'll probably also be trying to build this out further for entrepreneurs and for people to connect with developers also. So it isn't just purely the very, very technical stuff, but also where other people sort of in the build category can come in and meet developers and talk to them. And I just see this becoming a really rich place. Sort of in my ideal imagination, the Discord is sort of like an open source version of like a tech campus, where you can like come and have your own rooms, and you can. This is one thing we're doing. If you think that you can have regular activity and you're a Cardano project, you already have a community that's being built up. We have an ability for you to apply for a channel, so that you can actually have a space within our Discord, which is your own little area. We already have this going for Ognios, which is really amazing. It's been very active. It's an amazing community tool, and I think there's lots of opportunities for basically people to come in there and enrich the community by participating.
Well, they say competitors can't copy communities, right?
I have heard them say that.
So, Hassan, tell me, 6 months from now, what are you hoping we're going to accomplish? What are you looking forward to?
I'm hoping that we can grow the Cardano Stack Exchange in particular, make it shown to a wider community, make more people involved. After the summit, really, I'm hoping that I can get hold of grow the network out within IOG, meet new people, meet new faces, network, and yeah, hopefully we have more exciting analytics going to be shown.
With the analytics and the data, it can be a different way of looking at the world and give people the opportunity to see just how rich and exciting and how fast the ecosystem's growing. I was going to say, but one of the things we want to work on, Hassan, is that idea of humanizing the ecosystem, giving better data, surveys, reports, not just to our leadership, which we will be doing, obviously, but to the community itself, so they can understand things. So yeah, I think that delegation piece with the green energy stuff is a really good example of that. Lena, tell me, what are you looking forward to?
For the last minute, I was trying to decide whether I'd go down this route, because Ben is kind of king of analogies and metaphors and sometimes just cheesy sayings. And something he always says is that we don't always have to know what we're going to cook. We just need to get all the ingredients out and have a look and then see what we can make. And over the last couple of months, I feel like that's what we've been doing. We've kind of been like, this is embarrassing, I'm going to go with it. We've been like stocking the fridge, right? And we've got so many of the most gourmet ingredients. And that's come from the community, that's come from our ideas, from these sessions that we've had. We've been brainstorming, we've been thinking about, where we're going to take the community. And so what I'm excited about is getting that all out and having the time to really think about how we're going to achieve this. And I've just got so much feedback and comments from people in the community, in my DMs and on my Discord. And what I want to do is use that time and go through these things and see like how we can effectively give the community what they're looking for and what they need from us, and how we can work together to continue building out. And slated for that, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a meal with the community.
That's great. I did really want to go over this because I think this is sort of crucial to the framing here. There's Cardano NFTs have been, I think, sort of like a dark horse in the industry. Like you still have, you know, sometimes well-intentioned people in, say, Ethereum, who are still asking questions like, will Cardano have, NFTs? Because they don't realize, and the fact is that we're actually in NFT transaction volume, if I have that metric right, in some kind of volume, I think it's transaction volume. Cardano NFTs, CNFTs are actually on par with Ethereum NFTs now. That's how thriving the ecosystem is. It's been 6 months, prior to smart contracts, and so this is just, it's really incredible to see this. This is an amazing part of the build piece, and we've done IOG has done features on this. Every week we've picked some amazing project in the community, really really amazing, fully on-chain code NFTs, say like evolving trees,
bison.
Yeah, bison. We just
lobsters.
Yep, lobsters. An amazing number of brilliant projects. Recently, one that's been smashing is Lena's Nation, which and her team. It's been really amazing to see, and I think this is something that we don't perhaps bring up enough. That having been on sort of the tip of the spear, our community of builders, without a bunch of help and handholding, we gave them the core, at IOG we gave them the core capabilities, and then they ran with it and built just amazing original things. And I think this is the same, right now with the release of Alonzo. It's the core capability, but we are also, in the community is also at the tip of the spear. So there's a lot of tooling and infrastructure to be built out yet, and I think that essentially this is where you guys come in, is building out that tooling, building out that documentation. Obviously, we're doing a lot of that. There are other projects in the ecosystem, Cardano Foundation, DC Spark, Emergo, who are doing this as well. But it's there for the community to do. So step in and show us where those gaps are. Fill them yourselves. If you've built an amazing tool, if you if you have a great tutorial that you've made, or great lecture notes or something on Plutus Pioneers, share those with the community, because they will become an essential piece of Cardano and the Cardano community going forward.
Yeah, and if a few closing words, if you're thinking about coming to Cardano, we have a community like no other. One of the reasons I'm so proud to work alongside people like Neve and Lena and Matthew and Hassan is because it is about people and the relationships and understanding your needs and what you want to achieve, so we can support you. We're not some enterprise team just talking to a passive audience. We really care about helping you, and this ultimately is true of the broader Cardano community, and it's why we're going to smash it. So you're still early. That's the takeaway. You're still early. Get involved. Well done, guys.
Brilliant.
Where's high fives? Doing it with me. Come on, Neve. High five.
We're high-fiving? Okay, we're done.
Cool.
Emerging world, like a large part of African, and of course there's a large large portion of the users from US and other Western countries. That's like everyone knows about the crypto, but to understand is like our anchor product, like universal basic saving, is try to solve a problem that how do you bring a predictable saving product from the blockchain to end customers. And Cardano has this huge focus and boots on ground and getting to this, connecting to the users, and they have a structure. So we think there's a clear alignment going with a value proposition for that VCSSE fund and the team backing it and our project mission. So that's what made us to glue with you guys. And that's a personal statement. So everyone has their own stories. That's our story.
For us, like,
okay, well, thank you for all of that. And,
sorry, David. Just really quick.
Yeah, sorry. As much as I'm enjoying everyone complimenting me. Sorry, but I guess we do need to wrap there, but I really appreciate everyone. So thank you all. Really happy to have you guys in the portfolio, and hopefully you guys make us look really smart over time. And yeah, no, thank you for participating in this panel, and excited to see what the future holds.
Pleasure being here.
Thanks, David.
Great to be here. Have a nice one. Bye-bye.
Great meeting everyone.
At the moment, it's difficult for you to see your portfolio, and I'll be showing you what are the different features that we will bring in the upcoming weeks. Next, we have the fiat run, and with that, at the moment, you can actually purchase ADA. So we have an on-fiat run. We are really working with new providers, and in order to extend the different alternatives and different providers that you have access to as a user. And with that, we will be offering you also the possibility of an off run, and you'll be able to realize your gains if you want to do so. From that non-fiat run, you can expect other forms of purchasing ADA, like it could be bank transfers. At the moment, you can only use the credit card. Moving on, we have the partner section. In this area, we want to help you as a user to understand how to interact with the Cardano ecosystem. Discover those trusted services out there that will be coming out in the next few weeks and months. We are partnering with a number of companies and services in order to bring to your Yoroi all the different possibilities that the Cardano ecosystem can offer you. And that's going to be in two different ways. First, you'll find those services or features natively built on Yoroi, so that you can access them directly. But at the same time, we want to present you an alternative, which is really a way to discover that ecosystem, coming into that, let's say, partner or discover page in order to see what's out there. And those partners will be trusted by us, by Murgo and Yoroi, and you'll be able to tightly work with these other dApps. And that's going to be through a really seamless integration, whether that's through the dApp connector or a different manner. Next comes staking. For staking, this is a really cornerstone feature of Cardano and also from Yoroi. And we've been doing staking for ages, really, from the very beginning. And at the moment, you can select your preferred SPO, right? Your stake pool operator from there. We want to expand and improve the way that you interact as a user with the staking feature. Really improve two things. First of all, what's the education that we provide, how the different resources for you to learn how the epoch suites work, the rewards, and all of that. And secondly, really make it easier for you to select your desired SPO. Next, it comes swapping. And really now from smart contracts, there are going to be plenty of DEXs coming out there, but we want to also be part of that game and help you and really trust Yoroi that is going to bring you in some native feature about swapping. I'm going to cover this more in detail as well. And last but not least, there's the voting functionality. We've been working closely with the Catalyst team in order to bring you part of the governance of Cardano for the last few months. And here, as you can do nowadays, is to actually register for the Catalyst voting in order to really express your power and really say what's with what's the next project needs to be funded, right? Moving on, later this year and early next year, we're gonna work closer with the Catalyst team in order to bring you natively new features for the voting application. Next, as I just mentioned, one of the greatest news about Yoroi and really the smart contracts era is the dApp connector. And with that, what's going to allow you is to really seamlessly move from Yoroi to a dApp. And you'll be able to interact from a user perspective, and you don't need to worry about the technical matters of Cardano. We'll be doing so from Emurgo and Yoroi as technical experts. What's going to allow you really is to operate from Yoroi, where you have your different wallets, where you have your holdings. You'll be able to connect with those dApps that you want to use. And really, you go out there for the given DeFi platform that will come out in the next months, and you already have Yoroi. Therefore, you'll have a way to connect to that DeFi dApp and really utilize Yoroi directly. And then from Emurgo, from Yoroi, we'll be doing all the technical aspects, building transaction, creating a way for the dApp to read the data from your wallet. But ultimately, you will allow or not allow that connectivity. So you have the full control of the access from the different dApps through the dApp connector. Next is the native swap that I was explaining earlier. Here, what we want to bring in is a twofold. First, allow and really help the ecosystem of Cardano to grow its economy. And by that, we want to allow this swap where you as a user will be able to say, hey, I want to sell this given token. So you'll be able to create a swap. And another person will say, yes, I want to buy this token that you have in exchange for the one that you're asking for. And this is going to be by a trusted smart contract. So you really don't need to trust the second party as long as you trust Yoroi and the smart contracts that we're going to be creating. But of course, they're going to be reviewed. We're going to share them with the community, and they're going to be audited. And with this feature, what we want to expand is on that secondary market, really, these peer-to-peer transactions, in order to expand and allow you to really operate with Yoroi directly, so that you don't need to go to all these other dApps out there. Moving on, it's the asset support. We understand that at the moment, you can hold your different assets in Yoroi, but we want to improve the experience. So you have here on the right-hand side a different some of the designs that we are working on at the moment, and really there you can see how you can actually visualize nicely your portfolio. Whereas at the moment, really you need to find your way around the app. Now we are optimizing that experience. We're improving it to present in front of you all these different tokens that you hold, right? And now, of course, with the smart contracts and all the different dApps coming out, there will be a major number of tokens that you're going to be holding as a user. And this is going to be available from next quarter, really Q4. And all of these new features I'm presenting are going to be coming out in Q4. Moving on, we have the NFT gallery. So similar to the assets page, there's going to be a section to have an NFT gallery. So you've gone out there, you purchased your given NFT, and you want to visualize it, right? You don't need, you right now might need to go elsewhere to see those NFTs that you actually spend some good money on. You'll be able to visualize them directly within Yoroi and really actually show it to other people, right? And operate with them, understand their details. You'll be able to explore, see the details of that metadata if that's what you want to do. And also really just spend some time looking at them as you might want to do. As I just mentioned, these new features coming out next quarter. The team is already working on all of them. And now I'd like to start wrapping it up and explaining a few things about what we're going to be doing next. First and foremost, it comes all the support you guys are asking for and all the improvements that you've been asking for the past few months. We are listening and we are improving all our technical and infrastructure. And for that, we are expanding our servers, backends, in order to have a better performance and be able to really deal with the amount of users. As I mentioned earlier, we had a huge increase. We tripled in the last few months. So bear with us. We are putting the major efforts here in order to help you and continue using Yoroi. Next comes all the idea I mentioned, which is we are redesigning the application in order to bring you a better customer experience. So you have there a better way to interact with your UI and discover all these different new features that we are bringing in natively. And then third is really all this interaction with the Cardano ecosystem that is gonna be coming out, and you'll be able to really interact with those dApps thanks to the dApp connector. So really, you're always gonna be that vehicle and that really cornerstone within the Cardano ecosystem for those users that are either on desktop or mobile to interact with all these different dApps. Lastly, I want to show you here some resources that you can access. So first, you have our Twitter, and I would really recommend you to tune in, stay tuned about the news that we are publishing in Twitter, because that's the best way for you to stay up to date with what's coming in next for Yoroi. Secondly, I want to highlight our Yoroi wallet website, because that's the main way for you to receive support from our product support team. There you'll be able to create some tickets in order to get first-hand help from our team. And then last, if you want to know what else we're working on in Murgo, you have a few resources down below, and you'll be able to really learn more about what we're doing besides Yoroi. Thank you very much, everyone.
Is going back to 2013 as a custodian and broker of crypto assets. And I'm the infrastructure guy here, also going back to the year 2000 when I operated distributed database systems. And now it's decentralized databases. And at Bitcoin Swiss, we're building the distributed core banking system for the future.
Great to have you here, Marcus. Jeremy?
Thank you, Jonathan. So at Cardano Foundation, I am the head of partnerships and executive officer. And as head of partnerships, what I look after is the Cardano commercially critical infrastructure list, which is to ensure that Cardano can be supported by all of these market participants and the greater, regulated capital space.
Super, and I guess that's what brings us to here today. So thanks a lot for everyone for introducing themselves. The very first question that I have is, please could you share some key trends that you're seeing in the ecosystem specifically over the last couple of months, and why do you think that this is an important trend? Would anybody like to go first?
Well, I see interoperability as a huge development recently, where Polkadot, as an example, is having a network of chains, and Cardano and the other chains that are out there will fit into the entire ecosystem of different blockchains that will be used by financial market participants. It's hugely complex to build solutions that span different blockchains, and that's the challenge that is gonna be faced by most of the market participants. I think it's part of why I'm here. It's solving technical challenges that are difficult but also interesting to solve.
Super, thanks a lot. Richard?
So, I mean, kind of, professionals don't like to hear that, but just like the crowds, professionals are crowd followers. And what you see is, for a long time, the professionals said, it's not coming, it's not, it will never work. And just the price appreciation of some of the cryptos has just been a kind of a go-to action call. So what I see is that at top level, there are some very senior people who are now convinced that this is part of the future. And it's this which we're feeling, and this is why some of the valuations are as high as they are, because they see the potential, but also realize how much work is necessary.
Stein?
Okay, now happened to me as well. Thanks. What we see in the projects that we're having with large institutional financial intermediaries, basically that since a couple of months, they are shying away from Ethereum or looking for alternatives due to the fact that transaction fees on Ethereum are just so high that they see that the projects won't scale, which is extremely important. I might elaborate on later. Secondly, what came up when talking to institutions is basically from a reputational standpoint, the eco footprint of the whole thing, right? So basically proof of work, proof of stake, and really management challenging me on whether this is a reputational risk if they enter into technology that is still on proof of work, which surprised me a little bit in the beginning, but this has come up like since 4 months and is really pressing, and also is a major topic when it comes on to the decision of the underlying technology.
Yeah, sure. So I think that from what we are seeing with our clients, so mainly banks, we are seeing two big trends. The first one, and I think it will echo a bit the point of Steam, is that there is a growing institutional demand for battle-tested proof of stake blockchain protocols. So basically, in this low-interest environment, I think that generating passive yields and new way of generating revenue is quite interesting for them. So I'm thinking, obviously, Cardano, that we just integrated actually within the Taurus Protect, which is our leading custody product. But also there are many other competitors. So as what our colleagues just mentioned, there is really, really more demand that goes beyond Ethereum. And the second big trend, and I think it will echo also the theme of today, is really the asset tokenization and tokenized assets. So digital assets actually go way beyond cryptocurrencies. And there are several opportunities, and basically these opportunities really, we are seeing some actual banks looking to enter the space without touching cryptocurrencies, but really going directly into tokenized assets. And this is something we are seeing more and more today.
Cool. Thanks a lot for sharing. Jeremy, did you want to add anything on?
I mean, the one thing that I would just add here is scalability is a nice term, but it's hard to do. And it's hard to do for a number of factors. Number one is that we have close to 200 active partners that have integrations to Cardano. And as we update a new functionality, so do they. So being a custodian is also a lot of development work to maintain a connection to a blockchain, and including the number of wallet addresses that are holding cryptocurrencies. So when you do have larger volumes, we're continuously pushing on efforts to increase the quality of those components that allow you to interact with the blockchain. It's something that many people don't talk about, but it's critical to ensure that you are built for growth.
So, I'm thrilled that at last we're kind of integrating ADA on our exchange, because a partner, it was always important to do it, but it has taken us so long. But that reflects, I think, a big problem in the whole industry. Just the amount of work required for adoption. And at the end of the day, every business has to be profitable. And if you're not profitable, it will be kicked out. So this is the challenge, is to make it easy for companies to make money in the space.
Yeah, that's fair. Thanks a lot for adding that, Richard. Victor, just double clicking on one of the other things that you mentioned just now about earning passive income. One of the topics that's very, let's say, in the news right now is the SEC's kind of comments towards Coinbase about their Coinbase Lend, and also then Coinbase also got, publicly kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but going against the SEC. So I'm wondering if each of you maybe have thoughts about how this can affect the future of the industry from the regulation perspective. Victor, would you like? Oh yeah, Stein, would you like to take that?
Yeah, it's fine with me. When I read the news, I was quite surprised, to be honest, because Gensler announced when he took over that he would take an open stance. From my perspective, Coinbase has been in talks with the SEC in that regard, with the Lend, and now they get basically shot in the back by the SEC issuing basically a warning to them. there is not a lot of information around it, but it seems that they did the Hensler test and came to the conclusion that it could be a security, right? And that Coinbase probably didn't do their homework. That's the risk of being regulated. I mean, if you are regulated, you are on the monitor of the financial regulators and you have to play by the rule, and you're the first one where they will point the fingers to if you don't play by the rule, right? I mean, BlockFi offers the same product. They probably don't got issued a warning, but they're not regulated, right? They probably won't get a warning from the SEC. They directly get the warning then from the DOJ. But that's how it is. And I'm too far away of the matter that I could judge on whether Coinbase didn't do their homework properly when in the new business initiative process they might have and didn't evaluate the regulatory risks of the product properly. But if you're regulated, this is key because you will be the first one where the regulator is looking at.
I can add a bit also on Steam comments. So at Taurus also we are regulated. So I think I'm just trying to put myself in the shoes also of the regulator. So it's all about finding the right balance because it's not an easy role because on the one hand you need to protect really the investor, but on the other hand you try to foster the innovation without killing it. Now probably the tension point is more on the fact that Coinbase apparently was open to talks and has actually talking with the SEC, so it came a bit as a surprise. So that's more where the tension point will be. It's all about making sure that the regulator is transparent in their communication so that they really empowers the industry as a whole. That is the best catalyst that can happen for growth. This is
just a question. Don't we have a fundamental problem here? That the regulator doesn't fully appreciate all the deficits which exist in the traditional financial system. And blockchain technology is a way to address that. And they are just focusing on preventing maluse, but don't see the bigger picture, or it's very hard for the people in the regulatory organization to defend that. So for me, as long as the top regulators don't see this as a big potential of solving the problems, there'll just be one roadblock after another.
That's exactly what we see, right? That Coinbase is the 500-pound gorilla of the crypto space. 100 million clients. The regulators are treating them the same way that they are treating the Goldman Sachs's and JP Morgan's of the world, right? And for lack of seeing the potential of blockchain, they apply the same measures to new products as they apply to the traditional world. And I'd say, as crypto companies, all of us here, we need to understand there's a benefit in being small and nimble and being able to push out new products quickly, whether regulated or not. And when we grow and when we become the Coinbases, then that's a different position, different size, different importance that we have for the global economy ultimately. And that's a burden or a responsibility that we also have to bear.
I just wanted to ask a little bit of an addition on this, like how, in terms of how the EU countries, including Switzerland, are regulating crypto. Do you see this as a lot more progressive to the kind of SEC approach? Or, are you basically happy? I think most of you are based in Switzerland and or Europe, so.
Exactly. So that was really the point I wanted to make. I really believe that Switzerland is at the forefront of regulation worldwide. And the reason, like, even tokenized assets is already growing so fast today is because of the FINMA position, because of the CMTA, which is the Capital Market and Technology Association, that contributes to providing frameworks to the industry, like, for instance, the CMTA 20, which is a smart contract template to tokenize the shares of Swiss corporation. So it's like it's a derivative of the ERC20 token. but it's really providing like the guidance to make sure, and the turnkey solution to tokenize, so that one company can tokenize its shares seamlessly, let's say it that way. So I really believe that Switzerland in this position is really designing part of the the regulation that will be cascaded down to the other markets later on. So I think that this Switzerland position is, I think they did really a tremendous job in this area.
Thanks a lot, Victor. So we'll move on to the next question, which I think is around the asset tokenization, and allow each of you to kind of explain where you think where the thinker space is going. So, what is one aspect of the future world that is, let's say, tokenized assets, and what do you think is actually the biggest hurdle for the large rollout of this technology in the traditional financial markets? Stein, would you like to take that?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I mean, we've seen crypto, we've seen some basic asset tokenization. Where I get really excited is we have a couple of projects with multinational banks where we use blockchain technology to improve the operating model. And I think here there lies so many efficiency gains. It is hard, it is slow, because these huge tankers use legacy systems that are not easy to crack. But for example, we have one project that we are now running 2.5 years. We had first live transactions with clients on there. So basically, clients didn't know that that was running on a blockchain, but where we had massive improvements in the process, and where even the whole operating model can be opened so that other market participants, other banks can dock on and be part of that product. And I think that gets me really exciting, because first we bring down the massive costs that all these banks have in their back and mid office. So we cut on that because that's not necessary with the technology that we have on hand. And secondly, there are so many cool opportunities for financial intermediaries to work together and ultimately optimize their risk book. So that gets me really excited. What's the biggest hurdle? I mean, again, we are talking about large financial intermediaries that have quite some risk in the market if they go bust. So they are supervised by the regulator, and they're not working entrepreneurial, right? They are managed, so they are usually risk averse. So the appetite of doing something different or better is there. They have some, but it's taking time. It's taking time. We could move so fast. But on the other hand, of course, they are regulated. They have to go through the whole lawyers. They are operating in a very tight framework. So that is blocking a little bit the massive power that this technology has. But overall, I'm still very excited in that area. I think we will have massive benefits there.
Super. Thanks a lot. Would anybody else like to add anything there?
Sure thing. So I'm excited about all things crypto, ultimately. But what's really exciting most recently is non-fungible tokens and NFTs. And as we look into this as Bitcoin Swiss to offer NFTs to our clients, it's just re-emphasizing one of the biggest challenges that we also see, which is making it easy for developers to build on a blockchain. Stable APIs, clean documentation, up-to-date documentation. It's not all of the blockchain projects do a good enough job in providing developers and adopters of that technology a good and easy way to get started. And that's a key differentiator for people building in blockchain, and it's going to be the key differentiator. I'm convinced as a formal developer myself in which blockchain is going to make it in the enterprise space. You start with developers, as Microsoft used to call it. In the open source space, for early adopters, for projects. And then you have a large part of the mindset of developers that will extend into the enterprise space automatically.
Obviously, kind of lots of ideas in this space. I think a critical issue is the last mile. And the last mile is, in this context, actually the consumer. Because all big organizations will only really get moving when the user says, look, this is shit, I need this. So what we need is people, organizations which come out of the blue and which just create awesome products which add so much value that the incumbents are forced to move.
Now, to just continue really on the question which is the maturity of asset tokenization. Before going into the hurdle, what we see is that, just to be very specific, so tokenization will be the digitization of the real asset on the blockchain. Okay, so there is this issuance. Today you can issue, the main issuance platform will be Ethereum. You choose your smart contract, so it could be ERC20 or ERC721, like for an NFT or whatsoever, or CMTA20. But you can also, now you have more issuance on Tesos coming in with FA 1.2 and 2.0. And obviously Cardano is about to launch their smart contract platform, so we'll be seeing more and more also tokenization on this platform. But once you issue, after you have the custody, and then last but not least, the exchange. So, and the magic is that today, when it comes to the private assets markets, everything is paper-based. So when it comes to the cap table, for instance, on the issuance, it's on Excel. Okay, so usually you print your Excel, so it's very complicated. The custody is made on, so basically on the custody part, you will have a certificate security, and then on the trading, you have a share purchase agreement. The magic with the blockchain is that we will be doing the asset tokenization, and you will have directly a digital cap table so that you can see all the different shareholders to who you send and who is the owner of the actual token. Then the asset servicing, because the asset servicing is something critical and quite complex. Because when you talk about asset servicing, it will mean that you need to include also change like corporate actions, proxy voting. And because now the ledger-based security is legal in Switzerland since the Swiss Lex DLT law of February 2021, you no longer need the CSD that you see a bit across Europe, but you will have this unregistered, uncertificated security that is really legally valid. And last but not least, and I think this is the biggest pain point, is that when it comes to the settlement on the blockchain and with the secondary trading, it will be instant. So what used to take weeks now with the blockchain will now take few seconds. And at Taurus, let's say that we are very, very proud to be able to cover the full value chain end-to-end with our platform. Now, on the hurdle, and I think the catalyst, and I can see this clearly, put in simply, is just regulation. The catalyst in Switzerland, the Swiss Lex DLT law, recognizing distributed ledger-based securities. Now, this law and this type or the equivalent will be probably rolled out to different countries, which will be the trigger for global adoption and this blockchain-based market growth.
Thanks a lot, Victor. Jeremy, do you want to add anything on this one?
Actually, yeah, I do. I wanted to come back to what Marcus was talking about for documentation. From our point of view at Cardano Foundation, documentation means that the blockchain works as you say it does. So when we speak to regulators, it's not just understanding the custodians, but it's how does this blockchain function to begin with? And we are based off of formal specifications at Cardano and a lot of peer-reviewed research. But that information really does need to be captured and explained in all documentation that's given out, so they can understand what they're regulating. And that's often where we come in and have many conversations with regulators to have this more overall education with them. And it's not just on the documentation side, but it's getting some industry standards for vocabulary and what we're talking about. You know, what data needs to be shared for when you're tokenizing an asset, and how do you share that? If it's through a smart contract or if it's through another means, technically, you know, that's another problem. But just agreeing to these type of data sharing standards, I think, is kind of what I've been involved with in the past few months, and I think that is going to continues to be a problem that needs to be overcome in the next year.
We'll get there at some point. Thanks for sharing. So yeah, on to the last question is, you know, we all talk about asset tokenization and the integration and adoption of blockchain technology. But could you share your insights on really, you know, where are the cost savings and things like compliance costs? And how do we really think that this adoption of the technology is actually going to make the financial system in some ways simpler? I'd love to hear some of your thoughts around that.
So, I mean, anyone who ever had to kind of do, you know, administer a company or things, I mean, it's just a nightmare. Boom. Anyone who has to tax receipts, a nightmare. So there is zero doubt about the potential of cost savings beyond any kind of, that's not the question. The problem is, how can you get the standardization and how can you get people to stop talking? Because talk is yet more confusion. So we need real action. And actually, we need the kind of bonfire where, like Wikipedia, it just grows. And this is the challenge, how to get there. And I think the key players have to try and think, how can we create such a platform? If we don't do that, we will continue to talk.
Yeah, sure. So we actually are working several case studies on this area because this is something we really do. So you have different angles to look at it. From a bank perspective, and also from an investor perspective, and also from a company perspective. On the one hand, you have the rise of digital corporate banking activities, which are really, let's say that when it comes to, you will be saving on the compliance risk department. So basically you will be, as you automatize the value chain, you decrease the time and the tasks and the number of tasks that you need to take and to track all the different information, all the little different requirements. Basically, everything will be coded and automatized. So this is like a huge game changer. From a company perspective, what's quite interesting is that you have obviously a benefit of, as a founder, I unlock the liquidity of the shares. Basically, you unlock the liquidity of ownership. So you give, you really, by tokenizing your share, you can, at any instant, give the right to anyone in the world to purchase what you own. So instead of waiting for an IPO or basically maybe another fundraising, you can really maybe buy a house instantly. If you have like a personal need, you can really act on it. You have also employee incentivization program. So basically to make sure that you motivate your team, you unlock and you can say, okay, I'm going to give some equity of my company to my employees. And this is also in this area and in this growth and of transparency. This is something also quite impactful. Last but not least, also from an investor perspective, what you gave access is that you will have access to a new asset class that is usually that was previously not accessible, or at least to different, or only accessible to the VC. So you create a brand new ecosystem that is enabling drastic cost saving, meaning everything will become cheaper. You will save time, and basically you create we are about to really create efficient private capital market. So basically what we have today on the public market will happen on the private capital market. And yes, so to your question, the list of really benefits and saving are very, very long. And we have like 2 pages of bullet points. The next step would be really to quantify. This is something that has not yet been done, but this is something like that will be worked on.
Cool. Thanks a lot for sharing. Marcus?
Jonathan, you asked about cost savings. And I really think we should be speaking about how easy it is to get started operating a financial business and to scale it to a worldwide financial giant. When we think back 20 years, 25 years, we had the internet that enabled e-commerce through the new worldwide networking, TCP/IP, and it enabled at least 100 times faster creation of businesses than we used to see in the brick-and-mortar stores, and it also scaled a lot easier to national or global companies. And I expect the same will happen with blockchain in the financial services business, when we have databases including financial assets and business logic embedded in the databases in smart contracts that will enable businesses to create financial service companies much faster than they are able to do today and to scale globally immediately.
Absolutely agree. Maybe to add to that, what Marcus said, but also Richard, I think it's not so much about cost savings. No doubt there will be cost savings down the line. We've seen that already in projects and everybody's aware, but it's much bigger than that. And financial institutions see that, and that's why they also stop talking and are moving actually. We are talking to and acting to a lot of financial intermediaries that are using blockchain technology. Still very much in the beginning, struggling a little bit, seeing that it doesn't scale because Ethereum gas price is today like $100, and that doesn't work out in a daily business, but we get there. Maybe it will be the new Cardano launch, right? The tokenization on Cardano will be then taking over some of these projects. We get there. It's not so much about cost saving. It is about creating a new way on how we do business, especially in the financial service sector. I think that has a lot of potential.
But maybe one point which we have to keep in mind. I mean, in the internet, you had the Bezos who kind of, think of their energy which they've put in, or what happened at Google. So we need these outliers in terms of how they run their companies, really dedicated in terms of really driving it to make it work. So it, we need twofold: thorough work at one by one, but also these guys who kind of just want to have change at all cost.
Absolutely. I mean, back then we had the Sun Microsystems and the Oracles of the world that built the infrastructure, just like we're building infrastructure for the decentralized finance world. And then there are the people like Jeff Bezos and the Googles that built business models on top of that infrastructure. And 25 years ago, they were already started, but it wasn't clear yet which one of these is going to be the big new business model. And even today, my crystal ball is quite dark in which of the many people building great new things on blockchain are those that are going to be the new Googles or Amazon of the world. Very early stages still.
We should stop and come to an end with a big toast to Cardano and their energy which they have put into building it. And thank you everyone.
Absolutely.
I mean, just as one of the partners, what you're doing. Thanks very much.
Absolutely. Big thank you to Cardano team on my side.
I mean, thank you. Thanks to all of you. Adoption is not a one entity, game anymore. Especially with everything with open source blockchain and building applications. So while we do provide the technology, I think we all look for leadership for what will be that new successful business model. And it is a process that does require a lot of cooperation and communication. And thank you, Jonathan, for hosting this panel.
Not a problem.
Yeah,
thanks
thank
a
you,
lot.
Jonathan.
And also, best of luck for everyone for future adoption.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for setting up the Cardano Summit. That's a major event. Looking forward to being there.